Michael, that was, in the end, a real throwback to an old Manchester United, a one that you played in, the celebrations in front of the Stretford End, last-minute winners.
Yeah, I've said it before the City game. I think it's a special place, this, and it was special things. And credit to the boys. You know, we knew today was going to be a really tough game, and you know, getting questions all week about breaking down a low block and beating teams that you should beat, and that was never the case today. Fulham are a really good team, and we knew that we were going to have a lot of questions to answer. And credit to the boys. The late goal last week that we conceded to then go again and win, and especially today, which was even more tough to take probably, to then find a winner for Benji. You know, I'm just so delighted for him, and he totally deserves it. It's a huge moment for all of us, but for him especially, and he deserves it. He's been fantastic since I came here, so he remember that feeling for quite some time.
Is it the one you enjoy the most?
Late winners? Yeah, I think that emotion, is that what you meant, late winners?
Yeah, with Benjamin.
Yeah, I think, listen, a late winner's a late winner in the front of the Stretford End in that situation. It's what I really know, it's what you get greedy for, you want more of that feeling, but certainly for Ben and to get that, I think that'll do so much good, and the response when he come in the change room at the end, we're all pleased for him, and it's just a start for him, and yeah, so I couldn't be more pleased.
Just the start for him, Casemiro coming to an end as well, and he looked like a real boss out there. I said that to Ben too. Yeah,
Cassie's been, again, he's been such a presence since I came, and huge respect for him, from what he's done, how he goes about his day-to-day, and how motivated and driven he is, and you only achieve what he's achieved by having that, and he's desperately for a big finish. We all know it's coming to end at the end of this season, but he wouldn't have thought it today, and it just showed it. Big goal for us, big performance again, and just celebrating it means just as much to him, if not more than most.
And a word on the other goal scorer, in front of the Stretford End as well, Cunha. It just seems that the Stretford End absolutely love him.
Yeah, and rightly so. You know, he's got so much ability, and still think there's loads more to come from him in a real positive way. And that's three big moments. You know, coming on, creating a goal, scoring a goal last week, scoring this week. Big stepping stones for Mateus, and hopefully there's more to come. I'm sure there is.
And what about you? What are the emotions like with these late winners? Because you're on track for Manager of the Month at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be honest. The last goal was a big moment, and the celebrations were big. You know, I think
wild.
That's what the game does to us, and that's why we're in it and we love it. And I think the disappointment to them, the elation, and seeing everyone in that moment, the subs running down the touchline and jumping on Ben, the staff, the supporters, special, you know, and they're the ones that we want more of.
But do you feel as well that you will get more of those moments with what's left of this season? Because you're in real competition, real fight. European football looks to be well and truly on the cards as it stands.
Yeah, we're not getting too far ahead of it. I think it's the old answer of really game by game, and I think we can be better than we played today. I think there's a lot more to come from us in different aspects of the game. But again, we've been together 3 weeks, and we're working on things and trying to improve things. And today was about getting through it in what way we needed to do, and finding a way. That's 3 in a row. That's good. It's, you know, it's good. We want more for sure, but hopefully we can win games a little bit more comfortable in some ways. But when they do come like that, it kind of feels like more than just a win, and that feeling spreads through so many people. That's
just right, isn't it? Finally, it just puts that spring in the step. It looks fun.
Yeah, it's got to be exciting when, you know, we want people to come with that passion and looking for something to happen and be excited by it, and we certainly were going into the game. Didn't envisage it happening just like that, but the supporters have came, gone home, happy and looking forward to the next one.
Good stuff. Go well. Thank you.
It's unbelievable. I've been dreaming about it, that I can do that, and yeah, it's unbelievable.
What does it mean to you? What kind of boost does it give you in front of the Stretford End? This is what the Stretford End want to see.
No, it's I think not just for me, for a whole team. It's just really important, especially because we're in a really great row now, and I'm just hoping and wishing that we can work harder like that, you know, and win games.
But it's another late winner, isn't it? It's another 3-2.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's unbelievable. I'm really happy that I can help team like that and that we can continue our streak now.
Talking to Harry Maguire when Michael Carrick returned to the club, he was saying that Michael said to you guys, just go out and enjoy yourself, just play with that freedom, enjoy playing for Manchester United.
No, it's true, it's true. He's saying this many times, and that's exactly what we are doing. But it's not just that. Also, like without the ball, you can see how much we work hard together, which leads to the great results in the end.
That's just it. The work rate just seems to be so different.
No, definitely. Everyone is on point, covering the spaces, everything, and in the end, that's what counts.
And I was watching Casemiro at the end. He was urging the full-time whistle to go. There were a few little bit of nerves, just the way that Fulham competed in the game as well. Just a word on Casemiro, though, because he looked like a boss out there today.
Unbelievable player, legend. It's nice to play with him. It's also nice to listen to him when he gives some advices. Yeah, his work rate is unbelievable. He gives team such a big boost. And as you can all see it outside, and we are grateful that we have him, of course.
It's infectious. Top four. What can be achieved now going forward? There's so much positivity around this place.
Just to continue like this, focusing on our work, what we have to do, what we have to keep on going, working hard like this, being focused in every single moment, and that's how it's going to lead to great results.
And enjoying it.
Definitely.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Podcast at the end or towards the end of what has been a meaty Premier League weekend. There's been an awful lot happening, not the least of which occurred here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, a most remarkable game of football in which Tottenham seemed frankly dead and buried 2-0 down at half-time and rescued a point which has, Gary, all sorts of ramifications.
Tottenham first?
Why not?
I mean, I thought they were done half-time. Not just done in the game, by the way. I was like, I know a Tottenham fan pretty well. He said that he's been coming for 40 years as a season ticket holder and he's not been as disillusioned in that time. It was eerie. The atmosphere from minute one in the game was non-existent. It's as if they just switched off, the Tottenham fans, almost as if like they're completely and utterly, they're turning up because it's what they do, it's what football fans do. But there was nothing there, nothing on the pitch at all, no energy. No energy in the crowd, and such a stark difference from what you believe a Thomas Frank team is. And at half time we were talking, and I just thought, this is not going to go on very long. This is a massive struggle, and you feel then sad because you know sort of what's coming. And I thought City in the first half, to be fair, were in second gear. I didn't think the City were playing brilliantly well. I thought at times they were a little bit complacent. What we've just seen in that second half is a reflection of Tottenham's character, that Thomas Frank has got something out of them, simplifying the game. A back four that really should have been caused all sorts of problems, but weren't. They really stood up, Archie Gray and I think Paulinho on that right side of the defence in particular, who were out of position. I thought they were fantastic in that second half. Conor Gallagher in midfield I thought was very good. And then just putting a front two. Maybe we'll discuss front twos in this podcast because we saw Pablo and Castellanos for West Ham last night. We saw then Delap and João Pedro in the second half. And then obviously today we've seen Kolo Muani and Dominic Solanke. It's as if centre-backs can't deal with simple things. Playing the ball forward, getting it into their chest, putting balls into the box. It's returning. There's no doubt the game is swinging and we're going to probably start seeing more pairs emerge in this next 12 months. I can see it happening. The 4 games I've watched this weekend, the fourth one that I've not mentioned is in League 2, Salford. They also play with a pair of strikers, and they're good too. And they're a handful, and I just love seeing it. I absolutely do. There was nothing worse than, I think, playing centre-back when you had a pair of tough strikers. The first pair of strikers that I ever played against in the A-team when I was younger was Graham Sharp and Ian Marshall. And they were playing for Oldham, I think, at the time. And they were in the Oldham's A-team or reserves or whatever it was, and they remember beating me and Chris Casper up. And always thinking, gee, that was hard work, and our youth team coach killing us. But you see Kolo Muani and Solanke in that second half just mauling Kusananov and causing Gay problems. Last night, the same with the 2 pairs of centre forwards. But what we've seen in this second half is the Tottenham fans at the end of the game clapping. And that's nice to see, because I thought it was going to be a very dark second half, actually, and moody, and I thought that this stadium would be empty at 75 minutes. So it's completely and utterly bizarre. What you have to say is that you can't say it's something to build off for Thomas Frank, obviously the European performances as well, but he needed to start doing something here in the domestic games in the Premier League, because it's been such poor form. They only won 2 games, I think, here all season. That's not changed today, but they can maybe go in tonight. They've got a lot of injuries, which is a massive factor, and then pick themselves up. They've got Manchester United here next Saturday. Yes. They have. So big game coming up next Saturday
at Old Trafford.
Oh, it's at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's Old Trafford next Saturday. We haven't got that game, have we? No. So I think, yeah, a bit of relief for Thomas Frank, because I think he's a really good manager, and I really like him. I really like what he did at Brentford. I thought his teams epitomised character, spirit, energy, fight, aggression, physicality. The total and complete opposite of what I felt here in that first half, but they've shown a bit of that in the second half, and maybe there is a formula. Solanke went off injured towards the end, so I might be speaking too soon, but maybe there is a formula of playing 2 up top and just being really aggressive and going for it and simplifying the game back and putting crosses in the box, getting Conor Gallagher and Basuma and Sarr pressing onto people and just basically being quite physical. Dropping the sort of passes from the back from Vicario into your own 6-yard box. I'm sure I actually saw him pass the ball backwards at one point in the first half from the 6-yard box back to the byline, which is just bizarre in the position that you're in. So, yeah, a completely and utterly unexpected game today. And from Manchester City, nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. In the first half as well, when you look back, they're in second gear and you should have killed that game off. I mean, a Pep Guardiola team... those fans over there in that far corner, those Manchester City fans, have seen some of the best teams that you'll see. They know when it's not right, and they know when things aren't quite there, and they're not got that killer instinct. They struggle when teams put them under pressure with high pressing, put them under pressure on the ball, put them under pressure with regards to crosses and set pieces and balls going into the box, and they don't stand up to it, and they don't withstand that pressure. They haven't got the Diaz, Company, Lesko, whatever it is, those centre-backs that are going to be going dominant. It should have suited Kasanov and Gay in the second half, Kolomoani and Solanke. They should have been really be able to deal with them, but they didn't do. The Gay header wasn't great for the second goal. Nico Gonzalez isn't great. He's slow getting to the ball and reacting on this side here, and Conor Gallagher's in on him. Nico O'Reilly gets caught up in that as well. So just second best, and allowing teams to re-emerge in games, allowing teams to get encouragement, and that's going to cause them a massive problem in respect of, being on the shoulder of Arsenal, because Arsenal can physically withstand pressure. They've gone to Leeds yesterday and they've done really well to win that game 4-0, but Leeds put you under pressure, and I don't think this City team right now, in midfield or at the defence, it's been the same all season. They just haven't got that rock-solid spine that you think can go and win a title, and this Manchester City team and this manager know how to win a title as good as any, but they're letting you down time and time again, and I can see the sort of disappointment and frustration on Pep Guardiola's face. So a good day in the end for Spurs, but a lot of soul searching to do, I think, for City and for Pep Guardiola in respect of where they're currently at, because they're not there. And I really think he would have fancied in this last week or so, since Manchester United got beat by Arsenal, that come on, with 14 games left here, 15 games left obviously before today, 14 games left now. Half time he'll have been thinking, this sends a message, 4 points, let's just kick on here, let's stay on the shoulder, 8 games to go, and are they going to be there? That's the question. Are they going to be there on the shoulder of Arsenal? That's a question that I'm not sure of the answer, because at the moment they look well short, City.
Yeah, we'll come back to Arsenal and Chelsea. I just want to ask you one more on Tottenham. You speak a lot about, in the context of Manchester United in recent years, DNA and being Manchester United. And I was quite surprised with the Tottenham supporters, given how dark a place they had been in, how it only took one half and they were cheered up. They were ready to walk out on 75 minutes, and that didn't happen. All it seemed to take, from their perspective, was 45 minutes of a team they want to recognise. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you think of the Tottenham DNA, of historic DNA, you always think of silky players, don't you, with a maverick. Maddison's obviously not out there. Kulusevski, they have got those types of players. The Thomas Frank DNA is very different than the Tottenham DNA in some ways. Hans Postecoglou, I felt suited the sort of Tottenham DNA of playing total football irrespective of what's going on in a game. And he won a trophy for them, but had real difficulties in the league. What I would say with Thomas Frank is he's going to have to be true to himself in respect of the fact that I think when you're having such a bad time, I think playing out from the back and trying to sort of play football through a horrific run of results is just not the way to go for any team. You build your confidence back up through simplicity. We saw it in Manchester United with Michael Carrick, how he's gone back to a more simple system and putting square pegs in square holes. And I think in the second half, certainly having Paulinho at right centre-back is not a square peg in a square hole, but it's something that he had to do. But what it did, it meant that ultimately they had a back four, they had four in front and they had two up top. So they had an out in terms of when they played the ball forward. And they just made the game a lot more simple with their system and their style of play. And I think that unless you're an exceptional team, it's really difficult to play what I would call Pep Guardiola Manchester City style football through the lines. You've got to be exceptional to do that. You really have. You've got to be some of the very best technical players out there and have amazing combinations, because the other teams are so well prepared in respect to their defensive structures. If you're not, they'll be all over you and they'll counter-attack off the back of it. And we saw the first goal that Manchester City scored where Basuma gets caught in the centre of midfield. Is a perfect example of that. Perfect example of where, a player that's not quite there basically just gets rushed on. They jump onto him and all of a sudden they're off, and Semenyo, Cherki are in those channels against Dragusin and against Paulinho. So that didn't suit at all the back three and also the style of play. So it was just more simple in that second half for Spurs. And they're torn between a little bit maybe the Tottenham DNA of football that we want to see, exciting and sort of really sort of good combinations and sort of really talented players. But they haven't quite got that right now. They haven't got Maddison and Kulusevski and some of their best players out there. So simplifying it and having two forwards that can run, that are physical, that can cause problems like Kolomoani and Solanke. And I actually think Xavi Simons, who I think struggled since he's come, I actually thought he was really good. And he kept going, to be fair to him. There have been moments in games where I've seen him drowned out almost in matches where it's just been, he's passed him by. I actually thought today he stood up. I thought Archie Gray stood up throughout the whole game. I thought that, to be fair to Simons, I thought he stood up as well. He always seemed to want it. And I think he could simplify his game a little bit more. I think when he gets it on that far side, in that channel, on that sort of Spurs left, just, he's got that little bit of a jink, get into a position and just put those little balls in, or those little reverse passes, simplify your game. You don't have to do anything different than that. I always think if you're coming in off a wide area, he's not somebody who's going to go past players with blistering pace and sort of make Mane at Liverpool style runs through. He's more of a jinker, he's more of a sort of a manipulator of the ball. So again, you've got to have an output and an end product, and you've got to be predictable. Unpredictable to the player that you're playing against, but predictable to the players who are in your team so they know when to time their runs. And just sometimes you played those nice little passes in, those nice little crosses. And I thought Spurs played a really good second half. And in the end, a remarkable point for them really from where they were.
Which, not that Spurs fans like to see it this way, does do Arsenal a great favour. This time last week, we were at Arsenal, who just lost to Manchester United, and the storyline was becoming, Arsenal now, they got a tricky week, a game in the Champions League, which they won well, and then they've got to go to Leeds. And what if they lose at Leeds? And they went there and brushed it off, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, we said the Champions League game was unimportant, I think, in the podcast last week because of the fact they're already through. But they had to go to Elland Road and win. They couldn't allow a blip to... Just want to finish on the City, by the way. That's one win in 6 games, by the way, for Manchester City. Just watching Pep Guardiola here do his interview. 1 win in 6. You're not talking here about sort of a blip. You're talking about a pattern of what their results are. They've only beaten Wolves in that time. So, I mean, he'll be going back to Manchester tonight. Well, no one knows how to turn these things around better than he does because he's one of the greatest managers that's ever lived. But, he won't have had many worse runs than that in his time. But anyway, going on to Arsenal, yeah, they had to go to Elland Road and win. They had to go to Elland Road and win. And what an emphatic victory it was. A difficult place to play. A place that if they smell fear or if they smell anxiety, they will be all over you like a rash. However, Arsenal have not done that. They've gone there, they've been professional, they've done the job, they've scored the goals. They physically withstood what maybe would have come their way. And it's a brilliant, brilliant victory for them. I was looking very closely at that yesterday afternoon in terms of how it would go. I was doing the Chelsea 5:30 game, so I was sort of in and out watching a bit of Salford, a bit of Arsenal on another screen. I had Salford on here and Arsenal on there, and sort of between me and Brett, the floor manager, in the Chelsea interview room, we're sort of watching both matches, and Arsenal got the right result, and yeah, it was a very important result for them. Sends a message. Maybe Manchester City, maybe that's just got into Manchester City a little bit, but you wouldn't have thought so with the fact they were 2-0 up at half-time. But that will have maybe, when you're travelling down the day before and you think, oh, wonder if Arsenal drop points again. They don't. So, yeah, a brilliant weekend for Arsenal, a brilliant day yesterday. They've done their own job, which is the most important, and that sort of puts them back on track. Get back on the bike when you fall off it, and you will fall off it on the way through to a Premier League title, but get back on it quickly and start going down that road, and they have done. So Arsenal can just be very happy with themselves this weekend, but then today, to get that boost from their arch rivals, their local sort of rivals, is something that they wouldn't have expected. And at half-time, I suspect there might have been a few Arsenal players. If I was back in the day watching that game, half-time, I'd have switched that off thinking, oh, I'm not watching them go and win 4 or 5-0. It'll just depress me and take away the happiness from our game yesterday. But at 2-1, you might have switched the telly back on again. One of those. And at the end of the game, those Arsenal players will be sat down there tonight, whatever they eat now on a Sunday. I suspect it's not a roast dinner. Maybe, you never know. That they'll be thinking, yeah, a week's a long time in football, but we were beaten up and felt down a little bit and dejected after losing at home last week to United. But where we are now, they've recovered brilliantly well, and fantastic for them. And
wouldn't you feel a bit flat if you're a Villa fan now? Because here was a window of... They've actually had 2 windows of opportunity, and they've lost home games to Everton and to 10-man Brentford. Yeah. And genuinely, you know, logic says they could have 6 more points. They didn't. They played 2 football matches and lost them.
There'll be a number of teams thinking exactly the same all season, that, you know, we should be 5 points more, we should be 6 points more. I actually think Villa are punching to be where they are. They're doing a brilliant job. Unai Emery and the players, they've got injuries right now as well. So, you know, they're punching, I think, Villa to be in that top 3. I think if you look at their underlying stats as well, they don't quite stack up to where they are. So for me, look, if Villa were to finish in the top 5 this season and get a Champions League space, I think it would be a brilliant post. I do think they could get hunted down. I've thought that for quite a bit, not just in today. I just think if the others get their act together with 14 games to go, Villa... But Unai Emery is their sort of what would be their beacon of hope, because he knows how to navigate and pick points up, and he's a shrewd, wise manager. So I like Villa. I want them to do well. I like the manager a lot, but I think they're really punching hard to stay in the fight, and it'll be interesting to see how they do in this next few weeks. They just need to get their players back and you know, pick things up, and a bit more. A bit more consistency if they can in the game. Losing John McGinn a couple of weeks ago in the game, and then obviously I think they've lost... Who did they lose today? Did they lose someone in the game today? I thought someone said they lost someone earlier. Anyway, yeah, but for Villa, it's going to be a dogfight, I think.
And on the subject of being hunted down, it has been a really actually exciting as well as winning weekend for Manchester United and for Chelsea and for Liverpool, who were very good against Newcastle last night. So that Champions League race now is an absolute belter.
Yeah, I think they all realise that. I think probably United winning at City and at Arsenal has made maybe Chelsea and Liverpool think, hang on a minute, they could be quite dangerous. We'll take each in order. I mean, we're just watching actually the Manchester United game. They're actually showing the scorpion kicks now. I forgot about that one. Was that the... what's he called? He plays for Inter Milan now. I forgot his name. Mkhitaryan. Yeah. That was the Mkhitaryan one at Old Trafford, and this is the Giroud one they're showing. This is when I was at this game, and I thought it was the best goal one of the best goals I've ever seen live in commentary. Wow. Yeah, that was the best one, isn't it? The Giroud one. But United earlier on, I was sat there in the media lounge, 2-0 up, and I was smirking and smiling. You were in there as well. I was watching it with David Ornstein. And all of a sudden, Fulham just kept going, didn't they? They wouldn't give in. And then when they scored that second goal, I was like, oh, my goodness gracious. And then if you just said you wanted one player to score a goal, if anybody, any United fan, any United coach would have said, I want one player to score a goal, it would be Sesko. Because he's had a real difficult time since he's come to the club. And Cunha and then Burmo just look like Manchester United players straight away. The way in which they take the ball, they attack defenders. And Ahmad's come back from the from AFCON looking really strong, and Bruno's in great form. So you've got that front four that looks like it's established with Dorgu, who I've not even mentioned. So he looked like he was just playing a bit part role, but that will be so big for Sesko to score a winning goal at the Stretford end. To come back like they did, it very much Manchester United-like. Michael Carrick will have had sort of not making it easy for himself. He'll be there tonight thinking, you know what I mean? Because this was, again, another test, another type of test where a team are sort of lower down the table than obviously Arsenal and City, are the two best teams in the league. So a different type of test, different type of question. He'll have some work to go through with his players, but yeah, a very important day for Manchester United, very important day for Michael Carrick, and a glorious sort of end to the game, which is typical of Manchester United historically, where they sort of, you know, make it very hard for themselves, but then go and score the late winner. And it was a good work down there. He let the ball roll across his body, Bruno Fernandes, just again putting it simply into a box. Sesko just gets it, rolls it, and just he's got a really good strike on him. That's one thing he does have. And a big 3 points. I think that would have been a devastating sort of dropping of 2 points in terms of what you're talking about with Chelsea and Liverpool. It's going to need to be pretty consistent now. I think the others are going to sort of really sort of ramp it up, and United look like they're in a good place.
Did you see Liverpool last night?
I did. I got back about 8:10. And at that point, Newcastle were doing really well in the game. I was enjoying my Saturday evening. And then they score, and they hit the post. I think Harvey Barnes hit the post, didn't he? And they were doing really well and look a real threat. They score, and all of a sudden, but the response from Liverpool was excellent. And you know, I've been saying it for quite a while. I mean, Ekitike has been fantastic. I've not been saying that for quite a while. But Wirtz has just got to get himself in that left channel as close to the penalty box as he possibly can, because he really can slow his mind down in those final moments. Wirtz, he's got the real composure, cold mind. I've said all season, I think he drops far too deep. And there is an element of watching sort of Bruno Fernandes now close to Mbeumo, watching Pablo close to Castellanos last night, watching these two. Just get Wirtz close to Ekitike, get them close together, get them near to each other, and you'll be in business. You'll score goals, because he's got a real sort of what would be quality in tight areas, and he can find the pass, and he can manipulate the ball and understand where he is. He knows where he is, so it's a real unique quality to be able to do that, and that's why Liverpool paid the money for him. But he looks like he's starting to purr a little bit now. It was a great response from Liverpool in what's been a real difficult time for them. So yeah, I think Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Villa right now.
What did you feel walking away from Chelsea last night about Chelsea over the course of that crazy 90 minutes?
I mean, I watched Chelsea, and honestly, I can look at them. They look like an under-10s team when they play for parts of matches, and then all of a sudden they can turn into what looks like a real good football side. You know, that's got a real energy about them and some good quality players. You'd have to say Liam Rossini will look back upon it, and you know, he made the 7 changes, which I'm not going to criticise him for, because I actually think that can be deemed as brave. I hear a lot of managers talking about, I trust my squad, but they play the same team near on every single week. They don't trust the squad. Actually, to change your players when he's had the sort of run of games that he's had is in some ways, you know, he's admirable. He said to those players, I want you to go out there. He said to Gittins, he said to Delap, he said to Garnacho, he said to Hato at left back, you know, get Badiashile, get out there, go and play. I trust in you. Go and play. But too many changes. It's too many changes. I remember the most difficult games I had for United were near the end of my career. A couple of games whereby the manager would leave. He used to make 5 and 6, 7 changes regularly from sort of Wednesday to Saturday, because he did trust his squad genuinely. But when he made 7 sometimes in an awkward game, West Ham having prepared for a week in better form, you can get caught out with that lack of sort of familiarity with the other players. And it almost feels like you're part of the reserve team all coming in at once. Rather, if you make 3 or 4 and you've got that stability around you of the players who've been playing, you feel like you're cuddled by that sort of what would be consistency that's existed before. So I think he'll learn from that, Liam Rossini, and maybe making those types of changes again. And in the first half, I have to say that West Ham were absolutely fantastic. They dominated the game, even though they didn't dominate possession. They dominated the game. They had the best chances. They were more physical, and that left side of Chelsea was obliterated. And look, Alejandro Garnacho is a player that sort of divides opinion, I think, at times. A lot of people are questioning, is he top class, or is he, where is he in the pecking order? What was difficult to watch last night was a young player like that who's gone to Chelsea. He looked shot to pieces in terms of his confidence on that left-hand side. And I'm not just talking about when Wan-Bissaka kept going off him running forward, but actually when he got the ball, his first touch was back, and then he just kept going back, then he kept giving it away, and it was an awkward, very horrible experience for both Hato and Garnacho on that left side, and Badiashile. But once he changed it, the complete and utter transformation of the game occurred. Actually, didn't occur straight away. I thought for 5 minutes of the second half, West Ham were really good. But then when Chelsea got a goal, they're a young side. It's part of their development. But you shouldn't always need a goal to swing the momentum of a game. Obviously, it really helps. But you should be able to change the momentum of a game if you're a top side without that. And again, just a simplification of the football. Getting it forward, putting it into the box, getting bodies in there, doing simple things and going 4-4-2, which is what I've seen in the last couple of weeks by a few teams. And all of a sudden, Chelsea looked a completely different side. So it's what Chelsea we see. I mean, they've won in Napoli. They've come back from 2-0 down against West Ham. They've demonstrated that they've got the quality to win in difficult places or come back in games where they look beaten. So that's a real good thing for them. But they're not the real deal, but they should be in the top 5. They should be in the top 5. And it wouldn't surprise me, and Villa fans are not going to like me for this, if you actually, Liverpool, United and Chelsea all ended up in the top 5. It wouldn't surprise me if they got hunted down, Villa. But not that I want them to, because I actually think it's good for the Premier League that Villa have emerged and got in there, and they've got a really good manager. So a lot to play for,
I just want to ask one more, and you weren't expecting this, but just outside the top 6, am I fair to believe that one of the most remarkable stories is Brentford's? Thomas Frank had gone, and Burma had gone, and Norgard had gone, and Visser's gone, and a rookie coach called, well, in the view of the public, he wouldn't consider himself a rookie coach, but Keith Andrews come in. They got 36 points. They're just outside the Champions League places, and there was a kind of assumption in football that they were about to crash.
Struggle. Yeah, I think we all did. And I've met their owner a couple of times, and he's a thoughtful, knowledgeable, intelligent, shrewd football operator who knows what he's doing. So that's the one thing that when Keith Andrews was appointed and they lose Mbermo, they lose Visser, they lose Norgard, they lost Tony obviously 18 months ago, you think there's going to come that point, a little bit like Southampton did for many years when they kept sort of trading their players. You know, they kept trading players, didn't they? And eventually it caught up with them. You thought, well, this could be the year that it catches up with Brentford. And I thought it would be the year that would catch up with Brentford. I think it's a remarkable performance of what we're seeing. And again, it's very sort of modern football, but trusting the process of what they do at Brentford and trusting the data and trusting the actual ideas and the players and the recruitment and sticking with those players and believing in the coach and the manager and the decisions that they're making is what Brentford have done better than most in terms of punching well above their weight. So it is an incredible story. And it's been again, we're getting a lot of surprises in the Premier League this year. Teams that are dropping points that shouldn't be, teams that are doing better than we thought, and Brentford are right up there at the moment in respect of sort of what would be team of the year for where we thought they would be. I think that's fair to say.
And that brings us full circle, really, because everything is measured against expectation. They're going beyond theirs, and the whole Tottenham story is around the massive expectation at this club.
Yeah.
And that's been met, at least for 45 minutes today.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gary.
Another good football weekend.
Yeah, terrific.
Thanks, Peter.
Arsenal have had a couple of results, since the turn of the year that maybe opened the door to Manchester City, but it's just one win in 6. When you look at the opposition in there, does it feel like his side are missing big opportunities, Micah?
Yeah, they're not putting games to bed. I mean, obviously, Sunderland away is always a tough game. Chelsea was a late goal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Brighton, they didn't play the best football.
But we're ahead.
But we're ahead. Manchester Derby, it was a freak result. Nobody's seen that coming. Obviously, they got the one against Wolves. But today in the second half wasn't good enough. And as soon as a team puts pressure, they can't deal with it. We've lauded Man City for how they play and the combinations, everything they do, so good to watch. But the last 6 games is not being a standard we've seen of all.
No, and it's only a 6-point gap with 14 games to go. This is not finished yet. Arsenal very much have the upper hand. Would you expect Manchester City, a team who have so many players who have a history of winning trophies, to to have a bit more belief, Michael, however you want to define belief?
It's a tough one, because when you talk about Man City and you talk about the players and the experience and how much they've won, you never want to write them off. And you always feel like Pep's going to come up with some formula to get it right. And in the first half, we thought we'd seen that. But in the second half, it just wasn't there. And I don't know if it's hoping they're going to get to that level, but the performances of the last 6 games have not taught me that they're going to win the league this year. And Arsenal at times have not been brilliant, but they're getting over the line. A big result against Leeds. And you're just looking for Man City to close the gap. And look, he said, 14 games left. Anything can happen. But I'm seeing too many bad traits defensively to tell me that they can go and win the league, because Arsenal defensively are a lot better than Man City.
I think as well with Pep today, he made a tactical change in the game when he brought on another defensive midfield player, Nico Gonzalez. I just feel the Premier League right now doesn't lend itself to trying to hang on to a lead. I saw it yesterday at West Ham United when the manager brings on Kilman to go with back 3. Straight away, the initiative changes. You start to sit back, you sink back, you get deeper, you give the initiative to the other team, the crowd get up. It just doesn't work. This league, it almost needs you to go, if you're winning 2-1, try and win 3-1, 4-1. And I think that's the mistake they made today. They started to sit back on it. And what does this do to the league? I think this will be remembered as the weekend that Arsenal won the title. I think it's that big a weekend for them. It was a huge result against Leeds. And to see 2 sides, Mikel Arteta would have been at home this afternoon watching the 2 games and thinking, I fancy Villa to beat Brentford. They didn't. And he'd probably see the second half thinking 2-0, this could be 5-0. He'd be opening a nice bottle of Rioja tonight, because this is it. I think this is a title done now for Arsenal. And I think they could go on and win it by 8-10 points. I'd be amazed if they don't. They've got the players. They've been getting their own way lately. I think they've been getting a little bit anxious. The crowd, the connection between the two of them. The manager gets a little bit uptight, and I think that transmits to the players. But I think now they can start to relax a bit, and I'll be amazed if they don't go and win this title comfortably now. They've got the best squad, they've got the best players, and they've got, I think, and nobody really is strong enough to compete. Villa are doing incredible things, absolutely amazing what they're achieving, but they're running out of steam with injuries, etc. And you can see that Manchester City's form just isn't strong enough. They're not capable of going on an 18, 19 game run like they did a few years ago when they had Kevin De Bruyne at his best. It's just not in this team right now. And it just shows you, if you don't commit players, if you don't take opportunities, this league can bite you, and that's what showed today. And it wasn't a strong Tottenham side by any stretch of imagination. They just showed a lot of guts, determination. They threw themselves back into the game, got the crowd behind them, and it looked easy. And if anything, towards the last 15 minutes, I could only really see one winner, and that was probably going to be Spurs.
Yeah.
Is there an issue with goal scoring for Manchester City, particularly with the form of Haaland?
I think on a day like today, it didn't have an excuse, because Spurs tried to commit men forward, play really high. He had the opportunity. Maybe the ball came to him a little bit too late, but in terms of his all-round game, I wanted a little bit more from him.
But and not just based on today's evidence, but the fact that it's only 2 goals in the last 11 for him. And he does tend to have a little winter dip.
Yeah, in the other games, I would say it was more down to him not getting the ball in great areas. And then when he touches the ball, he had to score. Not many touches. I thought today was a little bit different, because Spurs were really high, being really aggressive. There's times where Spurs were leaving 2 at the back. He come on and get the ball. Little touches around the corner. Just not cute enough. When it goes up, it breaks down a little bit too much. And we can all look at his goal record. Fantastic. We talk about him, utilise about him all the time. He's amazing. But just these little differences. When you 2-0 up, can he keep the ball? Can he bring people into play? Can he score that goal to finish off the game? And the second half just wasn't there.
Has done a big feature on Pep Guardiola, the almost perfect 10, he calls it. This is 10 years of Pep Guardiola. Incredible to think that it is 10 years for Pep Guardiola at Manchester City. His piece reads, at 3 minutes past 1 o'clock in the afternoon on this day, a decade ago, Manchester City made one of the most significant announcements in the history of English club football. But the written confirmation of his arrival on these shores challenged conventional football wisdom. That is the Guardiola legacy that is indisputable. Do you feel it will be 10 years and out for Pep at the end of this season?
I wouldn't be surprised at all if he were to leave at the end of the season, because when a big manager does go, if they announce it in advance, then it just causes a massive storm. It just does, naturally. Of course, there's uncertainty amongst the players when that happens big time. They're all on the phone to their agents, and it just hugely disrupts their chances of winning the Premier League. And they're still very much in the title race, even though they've been way off their peak standard. They just are. And, of course, you know, Arsenal could have a wobble because they've not been there for so long. We've already discussed that. But, yeah, I could absolutely see him going at the end of the season. He went through a lot personally last season, as we're aware, and that can count for a lot. But also, 10 years is a long, long time. We've seen Luis Enrique taking time out before. Top managers, they don't have a well that's just everlasting for them to dip into, the resources and the energy. Being a top manager like that takes a huge amount of emotional energy and resource. And that's just a huge amount of time to be in that job. So I don't think it'd be a surprise. It wasn't a surprise to me when Klopp left, because, again, that was another huge amount of energy that was taken up in one job. And I think there are reasons why managers try not to make it clear when they're going.
They've gone big in this transfer window, Riyadh. Antoine Semenyo and Mark Gahey both arrived at the Etihad. Are you convinced that City can still be that team that can reel off 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row in the Premier League like they have done previously and really challenge Arsenal for the title?
Yeah, because they've got players in that squad who've done it before. And we're not talking about players who have tipped 30, players who are on the downside. We're talking about players who've gone out of form for prolonged periods, but they've all got sufficient muscle memory in that squad to know what it is to reel off those games. It's what we were talking about in the first part of the show. This title race gets interesting when Arsenal actually have a real version of Manchester City chasing them, because we haven't seen that version of City possibly for 18 months. The fact that it's Guardiola, the fact that it's Haaland, the quality in that squad, you know it's going to come back. You know it is in there and they can tap into it. But the upgrades they've made are incredibly strong. We know about Gahey. We've seen what Semenyo's done since he's even got there. There doesn't seem to have been any awkwardness in that transition like we saw with Wirtz, obviously coming in from a different league. It's taken him a little bit of time at Liverpool to just pace the game. You know, we could see from day one with Wirtz that he had that technical ability to do anything with a ball. It was just picking up those rhythms of a Premier League match. Semenyo, that's not a question. We've seen it at Bournemouth. It's why he got the move. I think he's going to add a huge amount to them. I want to see what they do to Tottenham today, because that's one of those. Tottenham are a funny team. Tottenham are a weird club. Is it going to be the midweek Spurs or the weekend Spurs, which is generally diabolical? Because if they run into a good Tottenham, maybe something strange happens. But it's also a game where I wouldn't take 5-0 off the table, because it's Man City and it's Spurs. So it's. But it could. The key with City is it could take one of those absolute wallopings where suddenly they wake up and they come out of it and they are Manchester City again, and it is one of those 5-6 runs, and then we've got a title race to talk about.
Doesn't usually happen against Spurs, because City historically don't like this fixture under Pep Guardiola, Martin. But Matt Barlow's piece in the Mail on Sunday, we've been here before a little bit. Any Spurs fan who wants to lose today has no right to moan if they go down. It has been one of the narratives. Do Spurs fans actually want City to win this game to dent you-know-who's title challenge? They need to be careful what they wish for, though, don't they, given the position that they're in just now?
Yeah, I can't really see. I can't understand why you'd want your own team to lose. I don't understand that thing where the hatred of another team, of another club, consumes you to such an extent that it's bigger than your love for your own club. I've never understood that at the start of Chelsea matches, when they're playing, and they say we hate Tottenham before they say Chelsea. They actually talk about hating, the chant of hating Tottenham comes before the chant of Chelsea, and I've never understood that. And so no, I don't get why you would want to lose to Manchester City today. I don't get that. Interesting, Jackie's point about Pep and not being surprised if he left, but equally, would you not be surprised if he stayed? I think this is the thing with Pep, that nobody knows. I don't think City know. You know, when you talk to people at City about how they handle these conversations with Pep, it's done by Khaldoon Al-Mubarak, and it's, well, when the time's right, we're not going to talk to him about it at the moment because he's at the sort of head-scratching phase, or we're not going to talk to him, no, it's not right at the moment. And then he will decide a moment at which it is the right time to raise with Pep,
Will his
what are you
future be
thinking?
dependent on whether they win one of the big 2 trophies
Well,
or
see,
not?
this is the interesting... You see, that's another interesting thing, because people don't like to go out... Alex Ferguson, everyone's in awe of the way that Alex left Manchester United. You put the title on the table, right, there you go.
Second time. First time he announced
the first time, and then, but the second time, when he actually left, when he went, right, there you go, there's the trophy, that's me done. Thank you very
he did
much.
it against the odds with a really ageing squad
With an
as well,
ageing
and he
team,
every last drop
exactly. Ryan Clough got relegated, for God's sake, at Nottingham Forest. That was his last season in English football. He got relegated. So I think there's none of these guys are without ego. You don't want to go out having lost the title to Arsenal by 12 points or something like that. I don't know. It just sounds really strange. I wouldn't be surprised if he left. I wouldn't be surprised if he stayed.
I think I would be, the most surprised I would be is if he wins the league and chooses to stay.
Yes.
I think he would take that as the off-ramp and go to New York and go to shows and read books for a year, whatever.
should, in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. The way this guy lives every moment of it.
And also the way it might go with the charges that are against Manchester City, which he obviously had nothing to do with. But just that must be pretty stressful to live with all that's hanging over the club forever and ever and ever.
It's actually a legacy, and that impacts on your legacy and how people perceive these 10 years.
Possible to see at half-time. Across the 90 minutes, what did you make of it?
Yeah, it was a good game. After the goal they concede, we have struggled 10, 15, 20 minutes after we come back again. So, yeah, in general, it was a really good performance. Unfortunately, we couldn't win.
You obviously, or I guess you'd be particularly satisfied first half. Can you just talk about the game plan maybe that gave you control? It looked like a big part of it was to get Semenyo and Cherki isolating their wide centre-backs and cause them problems?
No, the game plan is try to play with the ball and try to score goals and not concede. That is the game plan, and after the players make the difference.
Okay. What changed second half?
But before in the back, they put more direct balls. We won. They found the goal. And after that, the momentum that always happen in the Premier League happened. But yeah, some transitions. The control we didn't have it. But it was not a big issue, just the momentum to score goals.
There was a sense a couple of weeks ago with the Manchester United game, I think you said afterwards, I remember Bernardo saying afterwards that it became their type of game, a transition game. Was that the case against second half today? It became their type of game and you weren't able to switch the momentum back?
A little bit. Yeah, more actions than the first half, you're right. They push more, but they push as always, but Bernardo and Rodri and the other ones, Nico and everyone in behind was really good. And the second half was a little bit more, but especially after the first goal.
Is that why you made some of the changes you did? Reinders, one of those that came on, Nico Gonzalez. Is that about trying to kind of stabilise the team?
No, to try to get energy, to try to score a goal. That's why we make substitutions.
Yeah, and Rodri, I'm guessing you were worried that he was pretty close to a red card?
Oh, yeah? Good. No, that was not the reason.
Okay, what was the reason?
It is to put another player with another energy to fill Foden in the final third to try to his time and score goals.
Okay. What did you make of their first goal? VAR had a look, obviously.
Once again.
Once again, what?
Have you seen it?
I've seen it.
And?
I mean, it doesn't matter what I think, does it?
Okay, that's that.
No, but
Okay.
what do you think? You tell us.
No, nothing. Nothing, that's all.
You don't want to get drawn into it?
Of course not. Come on. It's happened once again. What can I say? Mark has the ball, he's been kicking from behind, and it's goal. So what can I say? Nothing, one more.
Okay. Just tell us how big a blow you think this is.
No,
it's one win in 5 now.
Blow is the performance of United, for example. The rest is being good. We are playing in a high level. Of course, we didn't have the consistency, to win the games when always we were able to do it. But 14 games, a lot of points, 6 points. Next one.
Thank you.
Arsenal's victory and convincing victory at Ellen Road over Leeds United. 4-0 the margin of that victory. The Sun on Sunday goes with Mad 1. And it refers to the performance of Noni Madueke after he was a late replacement for the injured Bukayo Saka, who was injured in the warm-up. Martin, given what went before for Arsenal, 2 points from their last 3 games, put into context how big a win that was for them.
Well, it's very important because this stage in the season, City catching them, Villa catching them, everyone was talking about, is it a wobble? Have they got the mental strength? And Leeds is a really hard place to go. Ellen Road is a very, very hard place to go. And really, they never gave Leeds a sniff. There was no point in that game where you thought Leeds had any advantage on them whatsoever. The set-piece stuff continues to succeed and annoy everybody in sort of equal measure, really. But it's incredibly effective. It persuaded the Leeds goalkeeper to punch the ball into his own net yesterday, which, is never really helpful. And they looked like a team that were in charge of the title race, which is what they are. I mean, last week getting booed off, having lost their first home game since May the 3rd was astonishing, really, because they're in command of this. They're in command of their Champions League, of the Champions League table as well. Whether the meat wall, I think Johnny Northcroft called it in the Sunday Times today, whether the meat wall will work in the latter stages of the Champions League or whether you'll just get a free kick given against you, I'm not quite sure. But at the moment, and certainly domestically, it's theirs to lose.
Jackie, just very quickly in the Observer, Rory Smith, who was at Ellen Road, said seeing is believing as Arsenal thrash Leeds to go 7 points clear. He says Arsenal fans are haunted. This is in reference to this narrative that there's a real nervousness from the Arsenal fans, particularly at the Emirates. Arsenal fans are haunted not only by recent memories of advantages squandered, opportunities missed, promise unfulfilled, but by the knowledge that this time it really should be different. The pressure of being top might be a privilege, but it is a pressure nevertheless. I mentioned the noise surrounding every single Arsenal game, week in, week out. With that in mind, how big a show of character do you think that was from Mikel Arteta and his team yesterday?
I think it was absolutely huge. Absolutely huge. The idea that they'd go there with all the talk, all the noise, all the stress, every press conference is about pressure, of course, for obvious reasons. And the fact that they showed up and were so dominant, and James Ollie in ESPN said it wasn't necessarily fun, it was quite formulaic. He said, but they strangled the life out of Leeds United. Excellent. I mean, full marks for going to such a difficult place and doing that. And I think Leeds away is probably one of the teams you don't particularly want to go to when your confidence is quite fragile. And I think on that lead situation, the fact that they were 4 points clear, now 7, I rang Warren Barton in the week, who's my co-commentator for World Cups and Euros on the men's tournaments in the US. And I asked him about what it was like in the dressing room when he was at Newcastle United, and they were 12 points clear in January over Manchester United. And as we all know, that lead dissipated. I said to him, what happened in there? And he said, well, the pressure got to everybody. He said, we chopped and changed formations, we chopped and changed personnel, and a few of us, Les Ferdinand and me, wanted to have meetings about how we all felt. And that wasn't necessarily what was the done thing. It wasn't the pointing the finger at anybody. But they didn't do that. And they were just consumed by that pressure. And contrasting that to what Mikel Arteta's been saying is that we are having meetings, we are talking about how we feel. And his quotes in the week about, come on fans, just enjoy the fun. Let's just enjoy this. Let's hop on the boat, I think he said. I think he's handled it so far really well. I think there's still a long way to go. Long way to go. And, you know, we can slalom every week as to whether they've blown it or whether they're absolutely nailing it. It's somewhere in between. But the way they dealt with it yesterday was excellent.
Riyadh, Oliver Holt from the Mail on Sunday was at Ellen Road as well. He says in other seasons, in other title pursuits, maybe Arsenal would have crumbled. Maybe they would have been beaten before a ball had been kicked. Maybe they would have succumbed to the narrative and felt sorry for themselves about Saka, who was injured before the game. Maybe their winless run would have been stretching to 4 by now. But this Arsenal did not crumble. Jackie alluded to it there. I was at the news conference from Mikel Arteta before this game on Friday. To me, he seemed calm. He seemed a man who was showing great authority and a little bit of spikiness as well, in good measure, in a good way, is how I read it. For all the nervousness with the fans, does he deserve a little bit of credit about how he's handling himself, particularly in these news conferences pre and post match?
He does. Look, we're all going to talk about bottle and nerve and whether or not they're going to choke, right? Yeah, it's a valid discussion. Runner-up 3 times in a row, it's what Arsenal do, right? But you mentioned Saka there. The biggest variable here, I don't necessarily think, is Arsenal's psychology. It's just the fact that they've got this incredible squad. Look what Madueke did yesterday. That's what they've got this season that they haven't had before. So that's been the big shift. Then it becomes a question of, can they hold it together or are they going to fall apart? And it's like, I've looked at it since New Year's and that little run. They've dropped 7 points in 3 games. It's a little bit like watching Rory McIlroy go around Augusta. He leaves a putt short. That's it. It's Rory's choking. He's gone. His head's gone. Rory's not going to be able to hold it together. Arsenal lose against Man United. They're falling apart. But look at what Man City are doing. Man City have dropped more points in January than Arsenal have. Aston Villa have lost Tielemans, Kamara. They haven't got McGinn. They haven't got a Madueke to throw into the system. So who's chasing Arsenal? It's not 2019 where it's Man City and Liverpool going Hagler-Hearns. It's a vastly reduced Man City in the past 18 months. They've gotten better, but it's not Man City anywhere close to their best. Where this gets interesting is if it does all click for City. I would love to see that. If Arsenal are getting chased by a full-blooded Man City, will they choke them? Because at the moment, the City that's chasing them isn't that scary, and that's where I think Arsenal have got an advantage. But all of which is secondary to the fact that they've got this incredible squad, where if someone is wobbling, you can sit him out and bring in someone brilliant.
And we've been waiting. We've been waiting for everyone to work out the set piece stuff, but it hasn't happened yet. And we're in first day of February now. So, and no one's worked it out yet. You know, people are still punching the ball into their own net. People are still looking really, really vulnerable at corners and free kicks and everything. So it might not happen. Unless there is a fundamental reinterpretation of the rules and referees start going, no, you can't just have everyone running and then just crowd around the goalkeeper and stop him moving. Unless something like that happens, I don't see anyone working this out, because Arsenal Man U last week, there was stuff going on, and the ball would come in. You're thinking, right, well, there's 4 fouls by Man U on Arsenal. There's 4 fouls by Arsenal on Man U. You don't know who's committed the first foul. You've got no way of making a decision if you're the referee. No way at all. So they just let it all slide. And it's very, very interesting. You know, they've worked out a way around the system. They've worked out a way to score when not necessarily from open play all the time.
Just picking up on that, Martin. Jackie, in the Sunday Times, and Martin mentioned it before about this meat wall and when Arsenal have set pieces. But Jonathan Northcroft, who was at Ellen Road, says this. Mikel Arteta once held up 2 water bottles in a press conference. One represented set-piece goals, the other goals from open play. And his question to the reporters was, what's the difference? And here was a brilliant exposition of the Spaniards' approach to the game. First, his side thumped Leeds the ugly way, and then they put on their silk gloves and showed they can cuff you with elegance as well. Is too much being made of the set-piece routine, and are we ignoring that Arsenal are actually playing some good football around that as well?
Johnny Northcroft should write for a living, shouldn't he? He's quite good at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not bad at all. Yeah, look, I mean, you can talk about it all you like, and obviously there's the Anthony Gordon quotes last week about the Premier League and European football's better because it's less of the set-piece kind of bullying or whatever. But, Arsenal have done all right in the Champions League, haven't they, as well? But I think the thing with the set-pieces, it's almost like an insurance policy. Yes, that's where they're getting so many of their goals from, but it's not like they can't play football. The concern would be if the set-pieces dry up or something goes wrong, or Declan Rice were to pick up an injury, which, touch wood. Credit to him, by the way, for reaching 300 Premier League appearances, the 5th youngest to do so behind 4 other Englishmen, is absolutely astonishing. He tends to be available all the time. So the concern would be if he were to be injured and if they were to struggle from open play. But they're still in the top 7 or so of goals from open play. It's not as if they cannot score. So, I mean, who cares, really? If they win the league, that's what matters. And they're doing really well. I just think there's still a long way to go. And whilst they have 2 goals, 2 players for every position, and in theory, everything's going well and they should still beat Manchester City to the title, of course, I just think psychologically this is the big thing. And the way they're talking, it's what they're trying to guard against. But, again, referring to what Warren Barton said, he said the difference with their team compared to this Arsenal, who he supports, is the fact that they only had Peter Beardsley in that squad 30 years ago, who had won a title before. David Batty joined in the January, but they didn't have that experience, whereas Arsenal have got about 5 players, I think, who've won league titles previously, and that's obviously going to help them.
Riyadh, their set-piece team is what the cynics will say, but scoring every kind of goal is the hallmark of a Champions winning team, isn't it?
Yeah, but even if they are a set-piece team, a sort of dirty word, it's really effective if it's a problem.
But it's been made out to be, hasn't it?
It has. But if it's some lesser skill, if it's some base element of football, go on then, geniuses, go and figure it out. Go and find a way to defend it. They haven't. They can't. Arsenal have mastered it. And all good teams have always been good at set pieces. They've been good at defending them. They've been good at scoring them. Arsenal do it better than everyone else, and they can play other football. No one's going to turn to me and say Declan Rice is a Route 1 footballer. No one's going to turn to me and say that Bukayo Saka's some kind of limited element. They've got fantastic footballers. They've got a team that's built on a brilliant back four and an excellent goalkeeper. They've got brilliant technical players. Odegaard's not a clogger. Odegaard's not kicking someone 5 foot up in the air with an early reducer. They play everything really, really well, and they score a load of set pieces. It's like, look, I don't find them as beautiful to watch as, say, the earlier versions of Klopp, the really, the real intensity. I don't put it in a bracket with Guardiola's best sides, which I would still say would be the Aguero versions more so than the Haaland ones. But it's a brilliant side. It's a complete side. It does everything. And again, more to the point, if someone drops out, if Calafiori's not fit, you've got Nketiah stepping in. They've got 2 players who can step into a system, and the level doesn't drop. I think it's a brilliant.
It's a legacy argument, isn't it? It's a legacy argument. The Arsenal set-piece thing is a legacy argument that in 10 years' time, do we look back on this season and go, oh yeah, well that was the corner and throwing season when it all, when it got boiled down to set-piece football, and it doesn't compare, as you say rightly there, it doesn't compare to, say, the peak Manchester City where you're just watching it and going, this is incredible. It doesn't compare to that. But, you've got to work out a way to defend against it.
Is there an argument that, given the length of time it's been, 22 years since they won the title, and the desperation and the willingness they have to try and get it over the line this time, that we might see, if they do win it this season, that next season we might see a more expansive style of play, because they won't have that pressure so much on them that when is this title going to be delivered?
There is definitely that, and you also got to think that all of these coaches have got to work out a way of defending defending against the set pieces. That has got to be coming. There is a reason why very direct football doesn't actually win the World Cup or the Champions League or whatever, because the best coaches eventually, right, this is how you play against it. So yes, that's quite possible. But if you're a fan of Arsenal, you're certainly not going to care, because, you know, 1-0 to the Arsenal is still celebrated, even though everyone else watching George Graham's teams thought, you know, they were a bit direct, they were a bit long for that, you know, even for that era of English football, people thought, yeah, George, you know, it's a bit long and they push it, they've got that offside trap or whatever. It's not the most fascinating thing to watch. Arsenal fans don't care, they still sing about it.
Congratulations tonight. Another big win this week. Is it the perfect sort of result to start to hopefully go a bit of momentum for you, a crucial part of the season?
Yeah, of course. We are in an industry where it's all about results, and I've asked after the Bournemouth game, or not asked, asked as well to the players, but told you as well that we have to improve in both boxes, because in between we do so many things at such a high level. And in the last 2 games, scoring 10, only conceding 1, I think I can safely say that has been a big improvement. And so yeah, pleased and happy that we have these 2 results, but because of the many points we've dropped, we are also aware that this is certainly not enough.
I guess it's another game where you must be delighted that you managed to sign Hugo Getini.
Yeah, but not only him. I think our other signings played a very good game as well. Everyone should talk about his goals and his actions and how nice this is, because this is where pundits or every fan should talk about, because that's much more important than work rate off the ball for them. But for me as a manager, I see throughout the last 6-7 months improvement, but lately a lot of improvement in terms of work rate off the ball. Not even work rate, but the ability to keep on going off the ball with, especially with Hugo and Florian. They've improved throughout the last 7 or 8 months. But now I think everyone can see that improvement as well. And the better we are off the ball, the more we have the ball, the more we have the ball, the more they can show how special they are. And all the ones that won the league here are together. And unfortunately, that took a bit of time, because that's how high the intensity levels of the Premier League are.
And can I just finish by asking about Ibu Kanante? Obviously, it was really emotional moment for him scoring here for us.
Yeah, of course you can. He had a very difficult 2 weeks and probably still has a difficult time. But we spoke in the end of last week when he said, I'm planning to be back in the end of this week. So that would have meant that he could not have played this game. But when he saw all the problems we had defensively, he called me early this week, say, I want to be back to help the team against Newcastle. And he came back Wednesday, trained twice with us. And today, not only he scored a goal, but I think he played a great game, and the fans were really appreciative throughout the whole game. But definitely at the end when he scored, and his teammates were just as appreciative when he came in the dressing room after the final whistle. Richard?
I think you touched on it a bit there, but the understanding that Hugo Ekitike and Florian Wirtz are building, I mean, particularly in the last few weeks, that must be something you're very pleased with and that bodes very well.
Yeah, no, of course. But I don't think it comes to a surprise to anyone. Definitely not to me, because the more players play together, the more they can find an understanding. And I've tried to explain why it was difficult for them to play earlier on in the season, every 3 days a game. And now they are able to do that because they can keep going. They can play more often together. We can play more often with the same team or same combinations. And as last season has shown, the more you can play together, the better it is. And I've always said that I would love to play, not love, but I prefer to play as much as I can with the same 11. But for obvious reasons, that wasn't always possible. But now it's more and more possible. And then you can also see that connections are getting better and better, not only with these two, but also with other players.
Arne, you said about the teammates, teammates showing their appreciation for him. Could you give us more of a picture of what actually happened this after the final whistle when he comes?
No, he and I think Florian had an interview after the game, so then we were all waiting for the last two to come in. And then when he came in, of course, everybody was cheering for the both of them, but definitely also for Ibu, because it's very nice for him to score a goal when he is in such a difficult time. And I think this team has shown that we are always there for each other in difficult circumstances, and that's what they were for him in the last few days. And that's why I think they were so happy for him that he was able to score, which was told to me, but I'm not sure if I'm lying, but his first goal at Anfield since he's here. That's what people told me, but I don't know if that's true.
Paul Drews. You come from behind to win a league game for the first time since Tottenham match from London Tyson. How important is that this time? How old you the team breaking that barrier that you can come through sort of the adversity of the first?
What a bad statistic is that? I wasn't even aware of it. You're talking about home games or home and away games? It's the first time that we go behind after the Tottenham game and that we win a game of football.
Yeah.
In the league. Okay, yeah, but still, that's a long time ago. I think so many times we've come back from going behind, and so many times we've showed mentality, but unfortunately, like last week, we conceded in the end. So I think not only coming back from and winning it, I think it's the whole way we won it, the way we defended in our box, the desire we had to attack the other box, because we had a very tough first half hour, but after that first hour, we could have scored more goals than it took quite a long time, let's put it that way, before we scored the third. We had a lot of opportunities to score it earlier. But we just kept on fighting. There was a great combination between the fans and the players. And I think that is indeed important to come back from behind. But I think it's even more important the way we played in both boxes.
Do a couple more, Beth and Bruce.
And I was talking about what Hugo's brought on the pitch for you as well. There's a video this week of him on the training ground with all of the canteen staff, and you've spoken before about how well liked he is at the training ground. Just sort of tell us a bit about his character, because he seems like a real character. Yeah,
funny, happy. Always brings nice energy to the training ground, but also to the stadium, because the fans love him as well. From the start he's here, I think everybody can see how special he is, how fast he is. That was probably seen the best in the second goal he scored. He took a 1v1 on, went on the outside, which is very, very difficult in modern football to beat someone around, because usually players go to the inside and have a shot with the right. But there you can see his space. But again, I would love to mention the fact that he's not only, he probably didn't even improve that much on the ball, because he was special from the start, but his biggest improvement is his work rate off the ball, and that is so helpful and necessary for any team, let alone for a team that wants to press throughout 95 minutes.
Lewis, last one.
There was a bit of talk yesterday about Inter Milan wanting Curtis Jones. I presume you don't want anyone leaving within the next 2 days before the deadline, certainly senior players. Yeah,
I think there's always a lot of talks about Liverpool and a lot of talks about Liverpool players. There was a lot of noise around the club in the last week, maybe I should say weeks, but I think our fans showed today what noise really means. That's being loud, because they were so helpful today. So that is what noise here is in Liverpool. I think we are trying to strengthen the squad and not trying to weaken it. And but yeah, 48 hours or 72, I don't know how long to go. So let's see where the window ends up.
Thank you.
Yeah.
what happened at Ellen Road this afternoon. In terms of recent performances, Arsenal back to winning ways, Merce. Was that as convincing as you've seen in recent times for Arsenal?
Yeah, I thought they were outstanding. You know, a lot of pressure on them today. I sat here before, I thought if they get beat here, major pressure on. Gone 7 points clear. Hard place to go as well, Leeds. You know, when I said about timings before, not a good place to go at the moment. You know, they've been doing all right. They've been playing well, playing probably the best football of the season for them. And they just, honestly, it was like boys v men at times. They just absolutely brushed them aside. My big worry would be for Leeds. Because you get during the season and you think, oh, we're not a bad team, we're all right. And you get that confidence, bit of a swagger. And today...
Well, suddenly that Nottingham Forest game at home next takes on a different complexion.
Oh, 100%. It's a massive football match for them, especially when you're not going there now thinking you're not as good as what you are. So, yeah, hopefully it doesn't affect them. But for Arsenal, yeah, A+. I can't emphasise enough what a big football result it was and what a performance it was as well.
And what was the key to producing that kind of performance? You're absolutely right. It's an intimidating place to go, Ellen Road. But over the course of their 2 Premier League games, they've put 9 past Leeds United this season. What was key today for you?
For the first 15 minutes, I thought it was always going to be the first 15 minutes to get through it because it was rocking, Ellen Road, absolutely rocking. Ampadu had a shot that just went over the bar and the place was going. And then they just got into the game. They kept the ball patient. Never really fussed, but they dominated all over the pitch. Their movement, you know, the set plays, even the own goal by Darlow. There wasn't an Arsenal player near the near post. It wasn't like they were being put under pressure. It was two Leeds players and the goalie, and they scored an own goal because it just panic, pure panic. The problem he has is Arteta is Jason. Gyökeres done really well, held the ball up, scored his goal, missed a good chance. But then Jesus comes on for 15 minutes and he's like unbelievable. He could have had a hat-trick.
Just how good was that goal from...
Oh, the goal was brilliant. The way he moved it, and then moved it. But he's so quick the way he does it and he's so comfortable. But then you'll be sitting on the coach or the aeroplane on the way home and he'll be with his coaches going, do I play Jesus against Chelsea? Do I play him? And then he played against Man United and he never really got a kick. Do you know what I mean? So... For me, I think Gyökeres will play. I think he's done very well. I think that's what you bought him for, is to hold the ball up, play it simple and give other people the ball.
But if we're being ultra-critical of him, he should have had a couple, shouldn't he?
He should have had a couple. He was a bit slow with his other one, but I'd say not many players score the other one. Pure strength, just absolutely... Just kept... I don't like using the word bully, but he kept the defender off and he just got his foot to it and the goalkeeper was so close he couldn't save it. But his hold-up play was decent, and I thought he was good. But Jesus, again, Havertz coming on, even, you know, their squad's just phenomenal. The subs they put on today.
Well, also, because, I mean, Saka picks up that injury in the warm-up, so Madueke comes on to replace him. Very, very late notice, and yet was key in that game.
Well, he had 2 assists.
Yeah.
He had 1 cross in for Zubimendi. He had the corner that come in that was given an own goal. You know, just come in, you know, as they come on, Odegaard come on, Martinelli come on. You know, Jesus come on. I mean, them 4 players I just reeled off there. You know, Calafiori come on, 5 players. What team don't they get in? I don't know what team they don't get in, them 5 players. So, for me, I think that was the game. I think that, for me, that was the game that won Arsenal the Premier League.
Right. So then how do you expect tomorrow, Clinton, City to respond away at Tottenham Hotspur and the kick off on Super Sunday?
That's a big statement.
I'd ever say that. Aston Villa at home to Brentford tomorrow.
Yeah, but the 2 big games, like Villa at home are good at Villa Park. Might be an injury to Ollie Watkins, but they've brought in Tammy Abraham. Will he be up to speed? So that's a big game. Man City is the one where Tottenham have gone. When they've gone to Tottenham recently, Tottenham have always turned them over, so this is a big game.
Well, they turned them over at the Etihad.
That's what I'm trying to say, but they have to respond because they've looked at the Arsenal. That's why we said earlier on, it's better if you're the team playing first because then you put pressure on the other team. Arsenal have done that now, and it's over to Man City. That'll be a good game there at Tottenham tomorrow.
But what Arsenal have just done, even Man City going to Tottenham and drawing the game, it's 6 points.
Yeah.
So, like, it's 2 more games, that is. And there's not a lot of games left, do you know what I mean? So,
for
me, City have to win. They have to go and win.
Yep.
And it's not an easy... I know Tottenham ain't been great at home, but it's not an easy place.
Even Tottenham fans won't want to win tomorrow.
No. I know what
that
you mean.
atmosphere is going to be strange there.
Yeah.
At Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the last thing they want is to see them red ribbons on that trophy.
Yeah.
They don't want to win tomorrow, but they want to win on the 22nd, don't they, Tim? Because that's the North London derby. Absolutely. That is the big one.
Well, you can see Tottenham Hotspur up against Manchester City in the late kick-off on Super Sunday tomorrow from 4:30 on Sky Sports Premier League. Come the end of today, is talk of a wobble just a little bit premature?
I think at the moment, as we sit here now at 12 o'clock, I think come 5 o'clock, if they've lost this game at Leeds, then
the wobble's on.
The wobble's on. Yeah. The wobble is majorly on. But if they win this game, they go 7 points clear. Man City have got a difficult game, a couple of difficult games at Tottenham. And I think they play Liverpool after that, someone like that. So they've got a difficult couple of games. So this could all be put to bed again in a couple of weeks. But this is, for me, Arsenal's biggest game of the season so far.
That big later.
I think it's humongous. Yeah. I really do. I think it's a massive football.
And Leeds a different proposition to what we saw in August when they went to the Emirates, when they put 5 past them. Just one more to you. I mean, listen, 1 minute they're winning 5 in a row and they're storming clear at the top, and now they've been reined in just a little. Is it nerves beginning to creep in, or is it just that blip that most teams have during a season?
Well, I didn't think they'd go flawless to the end of the season. So they're always going to lose a game or two. I didn't see them winning every game. It all comes down to timings, this league race. Arsenal are playing Man United last week. 5 weeks ago, Man United at home's an absolute give me. Do you know what I mean? Amarin's coming with his team. They're playing all over the place. Can't get a result. All of a sudden, they're playing them, and Carrick's in charge. Put everybody in their right positions.
Tails are up.
And they become a good team again. It's timings. It's timings, and it all comes down. You can look at fixtures and you go, well, they'll beat them, they should beat them. But come April, you could be playing someone who you think now is going to be a hard game, might have lost 6 on the trot, or you might be thinking, this is a give me, and they could have won 5 on the trot. Yeah. So it'll all come down to timings. I think they win this game today, this afternoon, and I'll be very, very confident that they will win the Premier League. If they get beat, and then I'll be a bit worried.
And Clinton, just looking at things that have changed in recent times, you look at the opening 18 games, errors committed that led to shots from opposition teams. In their opening 18 games, look at that, 7 errors. They've had 8 in their last 5. So what's changed?
They're human. They are human. And you can make mistakes, and they're making mistakes. A lot of teams do. It does happen to them. It's just it's happened at the wrong time for them. But they're still 4 points clear. I know everyone's worrying. It's still 4 points, It's still a bit of a big gap.
But it's the history, isn't it?
It is the history.
It's the last 3 seasons.
But I said it, and we spoke about it in midweek when we did the show in midweek. I'd start worrying when it gets to April or 6 games to go and there's a point in it. Then I'll start worrying, and then I'll make Man City favourites. But at this moment in time, I still make Arsenal favourites. But it's a big football match. It's a different Leeds. The Leeds they beat at home is a different Leeds now. They got confident. It's a hard place to go to Ellen Road. And then the pressure will be, if they win it, the pressure goes back to Man City. But I've always said it many times that they need to score more goals. They score too many goals from open play. I mean,
Not enough from open play.
Not enough from open play. Yeah. Too many, from set pieces. And you need to score more from open play. And I feel like Arteta has to let the handbrake off. He has to definitely let the handbrake off, because I do believe they're playing within themselves at the moment. I look at the wingers.
Well, I mean, this backs up exactly what you're saying in terms of open play goals. I mean, they're down on 42, 57% of them. So what's stopping him then at the moment? They've got a 4-point lead that could well become 7 again come the end of the day. What's stopping Arteta with the vast array of talent that he's got in letting that handbrake off?
I don't know. Merce made a good point earlier on before we came off air, when he said about when they played Nottingham Forest, go toe-to-toe, make it a football match, because the Arsenal team that you see and the players they've got, they'll out-football a lot of teams, and with the ability they've got in their team, even the players they can bring off the bench, go toe-to-toe. I think you just got to let these players go and play the likes of... I know they paid big money for Eze. Eze's hardly played any football. I know he's rivaling with Odegaard at the moment, but he's a talent. And when your teams play a low block, he's the one who can get on the ball and make stuff happen. I know people say he's a bit slow in what he does. That's his style of play, and he's going to be like that. So, it is a worry at the moment.
And own goals, by the way, they're joint second top scorer as well. So
that's not good enough at the moment. That's nowhere near good enough. You brought in the likes of Victor Gyökeres, but people will point at Victor Gyökeres. I don't see the wingers getting enough crosses in for Victor Gyökeres. I think they chop back, and I know as the next centre forward, once I've made my run, run, and the winger keeps doing that, I'm thinking, when am I going to make my next run? Because the ball's not coming in the box. So you can have a moan at him, and I agree, sometimes he does deserve to get criticised, but they're not getting enough crosses for him.
You're saying it's not good enough at the moment, but it is good enough at the moment. They're 4 points clear.
But it is, yeah, but...
Do you know what I mean?
But remember what... Listen,
you
3
mean
weeks
it could
ago,
be so much better?
It could have been 3 weeks ago. It could have been 9 points.
Yeah,
that's what I'm trying to say.
But it's not.
But it's not. It's
but
4
every
points.
time they've had a chance to go 9 points clear, they've failed, and that's a bit of worry. Yeah.
And Sue, just coming back to this nervousness. I mean, you could see Declan Rice recently after Nottingham Forest game when they draw 0-0, mouthing various things to the camera every time, and a word in between those two words. but there is an understandable nervousness amongst the crowd because of the history, particularly the last 3 seasons, where they've always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. Is that already transmitting to the players from what you're seeing?
See, I don't know if it's nervousness or it's just being over-emotional, and that's bound to be the case when you look. It's been 20-odd years, hasn't it, since they've won the title. They've come so close so many times, so they've got that experience of not quite getting there and getting over the line. I suppose the danger then, though, is letting those emotions, I suppose, work against you. You know, that's where you need that calm head, if you like. That's where you need, you know, the players, the staff, the manager, the fans, all to just remain calm. Like, you know, the guys have said they are still 4 points clear. So, yes, there's lots of things I'm sure they're looking at and they're working on in terms of making sure they score more goals from open play. They have been too over-reliant on set pieces. But you've got to say the amount of talent and quality within that squad, the fact that they've got 2 players pretty much for every position when everyone's fit and available, they can, you know, create things from open play. They can score many goals. They have got a bench that they can look to and change things if they need to. So, yeah, I think it's probably over-emotional, and I just think that's understandable.
And we still shouldn't forget, Tim, they've still got the best defence in the Premier League. They've only conceded 17 goals. They're still imperiously strong at the back. So in some ways, does Arteta need to switch his focus into bringing what they have at the back to his front line, taking that handbrake off? How would you like to see him do that? Do you think he will?
I think Saliba and Gabriel are capable of defending on their own, especially in a game against Leeds. Even though it's at Ellen Road, we know how difficult it is. You know, the fans are on the up. Let them defend on their own and push more bodies forward, and perhaps leave bodies up the field as well on maybe in a wide position. Maybe Sacco, they're reliant on. He's not had a good season. Well, he started okay, but he's been tailed off. Medwecki, if he wants to play, or Eze, just leave him up the field. You know, Martinelli, I think he's always a threat, especially with his pace in behind. They just got to find the solutions. I don't care whether they score goals from open play or they score them for some set pieces. Makes no difference. At the end of the season, when they're carrying that trophy around the Emirates, he ain't going to say asterisk, yeah, but they scored a load of goals from set pieces. It will not matter. It will not matter how they score the goals. They just got to get the job done. My advice to them would be, you know, like, I can only go on my experiences. They have to go flat out. The handbrake has to come out off from day one, and they have to take the emotion out of it. Don't leave it to chance. Don't let the anxiety breed from the Emirates crowd onto the pitch. I know they're playing away tonight, but just blow teams away, and there'll be certain games they're capable of doing it. If any team wants to play a basketball match with them and they go toe-to-toe, Arsenal, I would back to win it. I would back them to win them sort of games. So try and invite that game, try and entice that game. And I think they will get obliged tonight. I think if they went out and the only problem they would have, but they can't worry about this, is if they concede, then the team really has got something to hold on to. But go on the front foot, outscore the opposition. They're capable of doing it. Everyone is fit in that squad now. They've had the luxury of letting Wanyeri, who's a superstar, you know, in the making, to go on loan. You know, they've got all the attributes to be able to go and win this Premier League. They just need to get over the line. It's natural for everyone to start questioning their desire, their bottle. You know, it's going to be. They've had that for the last 3 years. They need to just find a way to get over the line.
And listen, Merce, final question on this. Listen, if the nerves are beginning to creep in now, it's only going to get worse, unless, of course, a big gap opens up again for Arsenal at the top. From what you've seen this season, what you've seen from Arteta this season, do you feel they're better equipped to handle those nerves as we enter the final 4 months?
Yeah, I think so. And the advantage is I just don't see Man City. There's not the old Man City. It's not a Man City you
sort of 10,
put 10, 11, 12 games together. I don't see that. So there'll be a few more slip-ups. I don't see anybody going perfect. But sooner or later, we will have to start bringing Aston Villa into this equation. You know, I think sometimes we get a little bit disrespectful here and we forget about Villa. We're 20-odd games in now. We're not 7 or 8 games. We're 20-odd games in.
Still there.
And they got some players that can hurt you. The pressure's not on them. Teams go and have a go at Villa. Teams will go and sit 10 behind the ball with Man City and Arsenal. Got to break them down. So sooner or later, we've got to be bringing Villa into the equation.
You know what? That's a good point. I know we ain't going to be able to see it. But all 3 teams' next 5 or 6 games, if you look at Villa's games, there's no easy games in the Premier League, but it's the games that you want to face.
Brentford home, Bournemouth away, Brighton home, Newcastle at home in the FA Cup, and then after that, Leeds at home and Wolves away.
Yeah, the only time the pressure has been on Villa any time this season was at home to Everton.
Yeah.
And they lost that game.
Yeah, they did.
And many years ago when they were in the title race, it reminded me of that, the Oldham game at home. Remember when they lost to Oldham at home when they were chasing United down? So they will have to come over that, sooner or later.
Weeks has been for Michael Carrick and Manchester United. They've beaten Manchester City and they've beaten Arsenal in his opening 2 games. Can they keep that winning run going? That's a question for you, Jay Bothroyd. Fulham this weekend, then Tottenham, West Ham, Everton and Crystal Palace.
Yes, is the answer to that. I mean, if they keep playing the way they're playing, I definitely think so. They've been fantastic since Michael Carrick's come into the job. He's given them confidence. He's got them in a formation that they all look comfortable in to me. And there's been some big performances. Beating Man City and then beating Arsenal is massive. But now Manchester United needs to show the consistency. You know, Fulham, they're a good side. But definitely these next, 5 games, they're winnable. They should be winning them games. Again, Tottenham, yes, but West Ham, Everton, Palace, no disrespect to them, but Man United should be beating those teams. It's a shame to see that Dorgu's out now because he brought so much to them. You know, wing back, then left back. Now he's kind of playing left wing, but he's just going everywhere. To see him get injured now, I think he's out for like 6 weeks. That's a big blow. But then Cunha comes on, scores a fantastic goal and just, slots right in there. So Man United are looking really good now. They've got really good options off the bench as well. And I don't see why they can't go and do more.
We've got a couple of voice notes on this topic. First of all, Damien.
Those 2 massive wins over the last week and a half have been amazing. So these sort of games against the mid-table teams like Fulham and Palace, they've all seemed to make us struggle a bit more. Fingers crossed he can do it, but I think so. The team are playing in the right way. Everybody's there. Only Dorgu is out. Everybody looks strong.
Yeah, how disappointing would it be for Manchester United to beat the top 2 but then not beat the mid-table clubs, as he says?
Yeah, and that's been the inconsistencies that Man United have shown over the last few years. But I think the difference there of what Damien was saying is that when Man United play against Man City and Arsenal, you've got 2 teams that are coming out to Man United to beat them. These other sides like Fulham, Spurs, West Ham, Everton, Palace, they're going to be more disciplined. They're going to, be a low block. They'll probably play counter-attack football, and then it's hard to break down against those sides. So this is where now you need to have those players like the Brunos, Mason Mounts, Ahmads, where they can open up things, little intricate passes, scoring goals from the edge of the box. They need to turn up and put big performances in.
And we've got a voice note from Kev.
There's absolutely no reason why United can't push on, get results. Carrick's doing a decent job, and United have more than enough talent in their squad to finish top 4.
Finish top 4, yeah. Manchester United fans certainly confident at the moment, far more than they were a few months ago. Let's get more on this now and cross to Manchester United supporter James MacDonald. Right, James, how long can you keep this winning run going?
Hopefully indefinitely, but obviously that's not realistic. No, I think the next couple of fixtures, as we've just said then, are quite kind to us. So hopefully we can kind of put a few more back-to-back wins together. And hopefully that lad can get his hair cut.
Yeah, we were talking about that earlier on. I hope for his sake and yours that does happen. What do you think Ruben Amorim's thinking right now? Because Michael Carrick's doing all the things that you Manchester United fans wanted him to do, and it's working.
I think he's counting his money.
Well, that's a
I don't think he's thinking anything.
Classic, cynical, classic ex-footballer's view, that is. Fan view, James. Yours is more important on this one.
It's better to cry in a Lamborghini, I suppose, isn't it?
Exactly, James.
No, but I think from a footballing terms, he is quite a young manager. And I think he showed a little bit of naivety towards the league and towards the teams in the league. And I think hopefully he looks back at this and maybe at his next job he kind of isn't so proud and kind of potentially has a bit more flex with what he does with the lads on the training pitch.
So the last 2 games, you did go into it as underdogs, but you won them both. What's it going to be like going in as favourites for the next few games?
Well, I think that this is kind of what United's biggest problem has been over the last couple of years. We take big scalps, and then with the so-called lesser teams, we get caught out a little bit. I think, hopefully, though, we're still riding that new manager bounce. The excitement's there, and we'll be able to kind of apply the same way we played against City to these games.
Okay. James, do you know Mbeumo's been playing as a striker? He looks like a real natural striker to me. He can come deep, he can go wide, he's running in behind, he finishes really well, very composed. Do you think that's his position for Man United in this Michael Carrick team?
Well, I think, to be honest, a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have said so, but when you're watching him play, he just seems to adapt to every position he's in. But he's looking the real deal, and he's given us an alternative to Sesko in terms of how we're approaching that front three.
Did you ever think that Manchester United fans would be panicking about an injury to Dorgu?
No, I don't think we'd ever be panicking about it. He has been pretty good the last couple of games.
Pretty good, James.
To say the least.
Pretty good. Come on, man, give him some credit. Very good. Give him his flowers.
Yeah, definitely give him his flowers. I said at the start of the season he'd probably be our one to watch for United, but I think he offered a really good balance with Ahmad going forward on either side of the pitch. But I think with him being injured, it's not up the end of the world. If you look at the formation that we're playing and the way we're playing, we've now got options on the bench. And Kuna coming in, he showed in the last 2 games against City and against Arsenal that he can play in that position and cause problems. I think the only issue is Dorgu obviously was up and down and he was quite defensive-minded covering for Luke Shaw, and it's whether or not Kuna can kind of fill in that blank.
But I see that. I see that in that performance. You know, I know he came on as a sub, but I did see him tracking back, getting up and down the field. He is young, he's very athletic still. And like you said, he's a threat. He's great at finishing when he's got a fantastic goal. I feel like Man United's squad is deep. I think you've got some really good options there. You've got youth in there. And it was great to see Manu come back in there. And these last few games, he's been fantastic. He showed composure. And it's exactly what Man United needs. Sometimes, you know, you need to control that tempo. And he's been doing that really well.
Absolutely. I think he's been one of the standouts since Carrick's come in. And I think he's thriving with having a bit of an arm over his shoulder and saying, go on, go play in your natural position, I suppose. But I think the good thing is at the moment, in this system, it looks like we've got some depth. In the last system that we were playing under Amorim, we didn't have the players to play that system. So when you looked at the bench, there was no match winners there. But you look at Arsenal last week, where we get it to 2-2. You look at the bench, and you've got your Mainus, you've got Kuna, you've got Mount, you've got Sesko, you've got people who actually can ball in the net.
And that's what I was saying. I think that's what Man United have that Arsenal really lack, is that Man United have shooters like that can score outside the box. You've got Mbeumo, you've got Mason Mount, you've got Cunha, you've got Bruno. You've got some players there that can score from outside the box. And when you're playing against a low block, that's what you need. I mean, that's why Arsenal struggled, I think, because I think teams look at Arsenal and say, you're not really a threat from the edge of the box. You know, you're a threat from wide areas, but right there on the edge of the box, centrally, Man United have that in abundance.
Absolutely. You've got players with ones of like right and left foot there who could just put pressure on and score screamers. And that's what won us the game ultimately. It was counter-attacking, let them have the ball as much as they can, but as soon as you've got a sight on goal, take a shot. Don't worry about passing it round and doing passages of play. Take your opportunities while they're there.
And one thing I would say as well, I really don't like the fact that people out there, and some pundits as well, I mean, don't get me wrong, Roy Keane knows and loves the club, obviously better than I do, but I look at Michael Carrick and I say to myself, if he goes and gets Man United in the Champions League, winning games the way he's winning them right now, why doesn't he keep the job?
Are you getting closer to thinking that, James? Are you getting closer to thinking just give him the job?
Not right now, Tom, but I think if he does well this season, you have to give him the job.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the plan is keep an interim and get a manager you want in the summer, but he's put himself in the shop window. And if he keeps playing the way he's playing and we keep getting these results, how are you going to kind of go against him? If he's like this till the end of the season, it's going to be very difficult to kind of say no to him.
And James, who is there? Who's out there? I mean, Ancelotti just signed a contract with Brazil till 2030. Who else is out there that you think, yeah, he would definitely come in and have this kind of effect on the team and get us over the line?
Well, I think the two that I would say that I'd like at United, Enrique or Emery, and I think he turned down Real Madrid for us, definitely, with that nice Manchester weather. But no, I don't think I don't think them two are quite realistic at the moment. Emery maybe, but I think they're the managers we'd go, and I think the managers we'd probably end up looking at maybe it'd be a Tuchel, Pochettino, or Glasner.
So would you take Tuchel and Poch? Would you take Tuchel and Poch over Carrick if he carries on doing what he's doing?
No, that's what I was about to say. I was about to say, if Carrick carries on doing this, then that's a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, I think Carrick would probably stay around a bit more for the long haul than Tuchel in the past. Obviously, he hasn't been at many clubs for more than 3 years. So, keep playing the way he's playing, and it's going to be hard to not pick him.
Do you think the reason why people are doubting Carrick is because when Solskjaer came in, he done really well, and then obviously, took a turn for the worse, and he ended up getting the sack?
Absolutely. We've had our fingers burnt before in the past, and because of that, I'm not sat here going, Carrick, give him the contract now, because Rio did that about Solskjaer, and it ended up getting mean. No, but I think that is the case. I think we have seen in the past, we maybe jumped the gun a little bit with Ollie, not waiting till the end of the season and giving him the job, and then look how that turned out. So I think we've been a bit cautious.
Yeah.
Yeah, OK, well, let's see what happens between now and the end of the season. Of course, that game at the weekend as well. Thank you, James.
Thanks, James.
Cheers, guys.
As we saw there, it was a painful one for Arsenal at the Emirates as they lost 3-2 to Man United. The lead in the title race is down to 4 points going into this weekend. With so much anxiety amongst the Gunners fan base, Mikel Arteta has today sent a message steeped in positivity.
Our club has a long history, and to find a moment where in February we are in the position that we are is very difficult to find. So, guys, we are doing so many things so well, and let's focus mainly on that. And for sure, we want to improve, we want to be better in every area, but with that sense as well of self-confidence and conviction that we are in the right path.
You said you needed to bring optimism and reality. Did anyone need to lift you?
No, in these moments, no. Normally, I'm the opposite. And when we are doing so well, I'm there with the stick to say, this is not good enough, this is not good enough. The other day, no, because I know how much they wanted, the amount of games and the demands that we put on those players every day. And those moments, they need to understand and feel that we are right behind them, that I'm mainly responsible for that. And that they keep playing with that freedom, with that enjoyment, as I discussed the other day, and make sure that journey is beautiful, because what is ahead is great, and everybody has to be part of that, but in a good sense and with good humor and with good optimism and looking forward to it.
So positivity from the manager, but if we have a look at this, over the last week, I mean, so much has been made about Arsenal's creative spark. Of their 42 league goals this season, just 24 have been scored from open play. That comes to about 57.1%, which leaves them 17th for percentage of goals scored from open play. Interestingly enough, though, Arsenal's title rivals, Man City and Aston Villa, are first and third, respectively, in that metric. I mean, I find it such a tough one to kind of break down, because when you look at it, I guess, what's he meant to do? He's meant to go out there and score goals, and they've got the second highest amount of goals in the league. But 4 points clear, they're in all 4 comps still. Do the team, Mark, do you still think they need to play with that freedom?
Yeah, absolutely. You have to try and play with freedom as long as possible. The minute you start to tighten up, those opportunities that you get become that little bit more difficult. And players can then let it get the best of them or better of them. I think key for Arsenal certainly is Kai Havertz being back.
Yeah.
That's going to make a big difference. Gabriel Jesus staying fit, coming into form, which we're seeing happen, more game time. And I think that is really key coming into the end of the season. I think Havertz and Gyökeres's understanding their play, even though we saw midweek in the Champions League, was different. And
minute one, there was a goal, yeah.
And it suited Gyökeres massively.
Why do you think Havertz might be that key, though, Mark? What about him?
Positional play. He's that kind of. He's a funny one, isn't it? Because when he was at Chelsea, it's like, where does he play? What's his best position? Does he play as a number 9? Does he play out wide? Does he play as a 10? No one quite really knew. And I think that sort of floating position where he's able to play multiple positions, or if you've got an out-and-out striker like a Gyökeres, you know exactly what he's going to do, when he's going to do it, and you've got a player like Kai Havertz who has the ability to pass like through a needlehead. He's got the ability to do that. He did that midweek.
Yeah. I mean, Ash, I'll come to you, because the legends are starting to to make their voices heard. Now, we saw, obviously, Super Sunday, there was Patrick Vieira. Patrick Vieira said it's now or never. You know, even Ian Wright, you know, had been saying this week, you know, something has to kind of change. Do you think, is it to do with the fan base? Some people saying, you know, oh, it's a bit too anxious in the Emirates, or is it just a case of just go for it?
No, I think that what the problem is Arsenal's recent history. So everybody's expecting it. We're all expecting when are they going to have a stumble. Well, they're having a little bit of a stumble now, but apart from the Invincibles, I think every team has had a little bit of a wobble. It's such a long season, so they might be considered to be having a little bit of a wobble now. The goals from open play is worrying a little bit, but on the flip side, well, if you can be in the position you're in, I think all the Arsenal fans would have took that before the season started. And if you're doing that without scoring goals from open play and scoring goals from set pieces, then great. But I just feel that the way that Arsenal play, you know, possibly, you know, we might get onto it, but there is players on that bench that could probably score goals from open play, i.e. Eze being on the pitch a little bit more. I feel like he could contribute definitely. We've seen what he can do when he starts games, and he hasn't featured as much since. I do think they've got the personnel to score goals from open play. And as you know, regarding the chatter, that's going to happen. Like, it happens at Manchester, it happens at all the big clubs, and especially when you're not winning games. So if they go and win their next game against Leeds, I think that puts that to bed.
The longer it goes on with the bigger clubs, like an Arsenal haven't won it for some time now, and the way the world is today, more ex-pros will come out and legends of the game, legends of the clubs, and say, like, this is the time. The pressure mounts even more. Fans get sucked into it. Everyone gets sucked into it the more it goes on. We talk about it. Everyone talks about it.
That's why we love the Premier League, though. Yeah.
Absolutely. But the way the world is today, you so much more scrutiny on you. And therefore, players feel it. You can't hide from it today. Whereas in the past, you could hide from it. In the past, you could turn the TV off, and there wasn't much else. The newspapers don't bother newspapers. Social media, everything now is flooded with it.
Yeah, well, Arteta does want his players to play with more freedom, but one player who arguably doesn't appear to be in his best moment is captain Martin Odegaard. Now, take a look at this. Since Odegaard's exceptional season in 22-23, when he scored 15 and provided 7 assists, his numbers have been on a steady decline. So last season, Arsenal's captain scored 3 goals, provided 8 assists, which equaled a goal or an assist every 212 minutes. But this season, his numbers have dropped further with just 1 goal and 3 assists so far. Well, today, our reporter Dharma Sheth put those stats to Arteta.
Is there any part of you that's concerned, and is there any part of you that is thinking about maybe to take him out of the firing line a little bit and rest him?
So those are the numbers, but we have to give the full numbers as well, that he's played much less minutes than any other season as well, because he's been 3 times injured. That's the reality. We want to improve that for sure, and we want him affecting the game in the area that we can win football matches, that's for sure. But if you know Martin, how he works every single day, I have no doubts that that will come.
So that's the boss on his captain. Mark, I'll come to you because, I mean, is Odegaard's form, is it an issue? I mean, you know, you look at it there, 1 goal, 3 assists, he's your captain, he's meant to be in that 10 role, let's say. I know it's not quite a 10, but, you know, he's kind of there. How much of an issue is that for Arsenal?
I think it's a pretty big one. Look, Mikel Arteta's going to back his man. He's the captain of the club, where, you know, we're at the really important part of the season. Arsenal 4 points clear. He's not going to come out and say anything negative about his captain of the club, right? Yeah. And there's no doubting the guy's a phenomenal player when he's on form. He's had stop-start career at Arsenal, certainly of late with all the injuries, but those numbers are concerning. And you look at the side that Arsenal have now, they are better. There are more outlets, there are more opportunities. A player with Odegaard's ability should be able to find more possibilities, create more chances for players. Yeah. And that's the biggest issue, I feel. I look at it and just go, what is wrong with him? What's happening? Where is he? How's he dropped off? Has he dropped off? Is he playing? Is he not? Are we not playing him in his ideal position anymore? So what ways can we get him to influence the game a bit more? And it's worrying when you think they're so much better and he's having even less of an influence.
Do you think though, when we look at that and you see the 22-23 season when Arsenal, you know, all of a sudden looked like a title, you know, challenging side, they were much more a transitional side at that point. It was like, I think it was 2 passes that kind of get to Odegaard. It was Zinchenko breaking that first line, then it was Xhaka straight to Odegaard. And he was in that transition. He had much more space. Do you think, Ash, he might just be struggling with the fact that it is so much more congested in that box, in those areas?
Possibly, but I think he has the skill set. You would expect him to be able to deal with tight areas, and the way that Arsenal are, they've been all season, you expect teams to drop off, play in a low block, try and squeeze out that space probably pay him a little bit more attention, Odegaard, because he's so good.
Yeah.
But being that good means that you should be able to get out of those tight situations, create assists, create chances for yourself, score more goals.
Yeah.
So it probably is frustrating. I think Mark's point is a good one, whereas we don't actually know how he feels, Odegaard. His manager's come out, which is what the whole squad would want him to do, and back him publicly, of course. That's his captain. He knows exactly what Arteta wants on the pitch. But you feel for him a little bit because he doesn't look like he's enjoying his football at the minute.
Yeah, I know a moment ago, obviously, you said you might want to go more with Eze.
Mm-hmm.
Eze, obviously, he's got 4 Premier League goals. He's got 2 assists. He's played more minutes than Odegaard this season because Odegaard had his shoulder injury. If I were to tell you, right, because we looked this up, in less minutes, Martin Odegaard has got triple the chances created over Eze. Would that change your mind at all?
No.
Why?
No.
Surely that's what you want, though. You want those chances there.
When he scored that hat-trick, and I think he come out the starting 11 pretty quick after that, I was so surprised because you've got a player... It looks to me like a player that maybe was signed for the club that Arteta didn't particularly want himself. Right. That's how I see it. Because if you've got a player that we're talking about in Odegaard that's maybe struggling, and I know he's your captain, and normally the captain always plays, but you've got behind you someone like Eze.
It's a phenomenal player. Yeah.
Unbelievable player. Wants to get in that World Cup squad. You struggle. It's all right bringing him off the bench, but at some point you've got to go and say, listen, I'm going to give you a run of games. I'm going to give you 3 to 5 games. Show me what you can do. And I believe...
But he did.
Yeah,
well,
no, he did.
Odegaard was out,
but I don't think that when he did that, he played badly. I don't think. No, I think they'd score. I think they'd score more goals with Eze starting. That's my point. Over Odegaard. But fair play to. I like the fact that the manager's come out and backed his captain. That's important.
I'm a massive fan of Eze. I think I think most people are. I think he's such an exciting player, and the quality is there, obvious for everyone. But the stat of creating more chances, Odegaard's involvement. I think for a team like Arsenal, who are in contention, obviously leading, they are at the moment in control of the Premier League title race. They need as many created chances as possible. So to have someone like Eze is something of an individual brilliance, can create something, but generally it's the individual brilliance that can dictate a game. That happens overall far too... not often enough for my liking. You want a player that is going to influence the game more often with chances created. And I think for me, for a team like Arsenal, with all the creativity and all the quality players they have around, they need more creativity. And if Odegaard's going to give you that, that for me has to go ahead of that one individual player.
Do you not think if we're talking about goals from open play, Odegaard's playing, maybe it's time. Maybe like if he plays, if he has a run and he doesn't score, then okay, fair enough. But I know you said he played when Odegaard was injured. Yeah. But right now, I think if they're struggling a little bit to create goals, not chances, goals. Yeah. I think Eze might be the man for that.
But what's his job description? What is Odegaard's job description? What is his real role in this team? Yeah. It's creativity. Yes, scoring some goals, and he's had some great seasons there. But it's about creating opportunities for his teammates, and if they're not then finishing, that's another issue.
Yeah,
right?
No, of course. Yeah,
so
you get the situation where his argument might be, I'm producing, and they're not.
No one's
putting
finishing
it in the net. Yeah. Well, you go and score then.
Yeah,
that's it.
You're Odegaard, go and score.
But depending on where he is, if he's sitting a bit deeper, which he's in midfield, that is a little bit more difficult when you've got players and the setup that Arsenal have. I feel it's a little bit sometimes like they've got great wingers, but sometimes a little bit too selfish. Yeah. You know, Gyökeres is still trying to find his feet. Like I said before, Havertz back, I think that could be...
They've got a great relationship between the two.
I think that's that moment. They could be a big difference. And I think the next couple of weeks is really, I mean, obviously, stating the obvious, really important. And it's going to be interesting to see how this transitions. What does Mikel Arteta do with these players? How does he integrate? How does he put a side together that is not necessarily... I don't agree necessarily put a player in the team and give him 3-4 games because you've got to see what he can do. Yeah. You've got to know what they can do, and they've got to hit the ground running because they're running out of time otherwise.
Listen, I love it. We've got a big debate on our hands already. There's disagreements. It's great. It's a great start to the show. Nearly a week on from the Arsenal game now, and the scenes at full time were pretty awesome. From your perspective, sweeter as a manager or sweeter as a player? Because you've done both for Manchester United now.
It's just different. It's just different. I think it's certainly not a feeling you ever get sick of or you've ever had enough of. You know, I think all that kind of everything you put into a game, whether you're a player or coach or managing, whatever it is. I think, and as a supporter, all the energy and the excitement, the passion and everything that the will to win goes into the game. When you come out the other side in such an important one, and listen, late winners have always created the biggest emotion, really. And to get it in such a game was a great feeling, you know. And you keep a lid on it to a point, and it can last for so long. But certainly in the moment, and the supporters, the way they were, and the way they've supported us, it was nice to have that few minutes with them.
That away end. I mean, your son was there, wasn't he? I saw the sound.
And my daughter.
Dad in there. Your daughter was in there. That must have been bouncing from their perspective.
Yeah, for me, that's one of the biggest feelings of helping play a part in everyone getting that emotion. You know, that supporters come, pay a lot of money, travel, and support us everywhere. That's what they want. So to be able to give them that, that's probably the biggest thing that's came back to me even during the week when you see people and for that emotion, that excitement. Listen, it's not going to be like that every week, and we understand that. But it's kind of our duty to try and produce that, and the boys were incredible and fully deserve all the credit they get.
Yeah, well, now we look at your first sort of 5 games in charge of this club. Some of the managers you've come up against, Emery twice, Tuchel, Guardiola. I mean, what is the secret here? Because other managers must be watching at home going, God, some of the scalps.
Yeah, good players, I think. It is well. It's funny how things work out, and certainly not getting too carried away with all that. I think I just take it really as where we are now in this last 2 weeks in the 2 games, and trying to start. Obviously, give us a start and something to build on and a foundation. And what games are coming up are more important to me than what's gone. And we're in a good place. The boys are there. They're really desperate to do well. They're a really tight group. If anything, at the moment, you're holding them back a little bit, and they're so desperate for the next game. So it's a great place to be at the moment. We just got to keep that feeling and bottle it as best as we can going into the next game.
Next game, then, we should talk about Fulham. Just sat in your press conference there. There was lots of questions about how you might play. In your build-up to these kind of games, obviously, it's not a Man City or an Arsenal in terms of club stature, but do you take Fulham at the exact same level as you would?
100%, yeah. And I think anything else is first of all out of respect anyway. But in terms of us for going into the game, it's criminal for us to think anything else. And then when you watch anyway, you see the level that they're playing at. It's they're a very, very good team, and in so many ways, and coached so well, and so we totally understand that. The boys understand that and are fully prepared for that. And it's not about who we play against so much. It's about how can we be at our best, with the emotion, with the level of concentration, the obviously tactical awareness, all the different levels, everything you've got to bring to get the feelings that we've had. You've got to keep bringing that week in, week out, and in the end, consistency is what tells the story of your level of success. So that's our biggest challenge, of us being at that level often enough to give ourselves a chance of winning.
I think it's quite interesting in a game like Fulham, because I've sat in the press conference just there, and I've been watching lots of media this week and people talking about Man United dominating the ball and not playing on the counter like they have in the past. Do you see that the same way, or do you see, each game is separate? Like Fulham might have a bit of the ball, and we might have to come out against them.
I'm sure Fulham will. I think it's the way they play, and again, is accept and understand what the game's going to be, respect and have fully respect for that. I'm certainly not going into the game thinking all of a sudden we've done that and this game's going to be different, and we'll go and enjoy it and let's play with the ball and score loads of goals. And that's just totally couldn't be any further away from it. With the total opposite, if anything. And the things that have enabled us to get the results is working together, defending well as a team. We've got good players and we can play good football at times, and we did second half against Arsenal. We came out, we controlled it, we end up scoring, and so we got to get the balance. And again, I can't say it is strong enough. It doesn't matter who we're playing, it's about what we do, and we got to keep repeating them, and if not, improving on the levels of performance every week.
I was listening to Rio's podcast this week, and he was talking about sitting next to you in the dressing room and your sort of communication style, being a leader on the pitch. What's your communication style in the dressing room like as a coach now?
I just think it's whatever the boys need, really. However that is it firing them up? Is it calming them down? Is it giving them information? Is it? And it's got to evolve. It's got to change. And sometimes you get a feeling for that, you know.
Yeah.
Kind of understanding what they're going through and mentally and coping with the situation. So it changes a lot. I think the boys are feeling that I'm with them, the coaches are with them, we're all in it together. That there's that, you know, there's that unity. I feel that really strongly already. That's important to me, I think. And then yeah, it's just feeling the moment, you know. And the boys, to be honest, have been in such a good place that you're just tweaking things here and there. They're so desperate to do well, which all you can ask is to give the best, you know. And they're there, they're really invested in it, and they're keen and they're hungry, and hence the results and the performances we've got. It's what we've got to keep moving forward.
This feels like there's some real leaders in that dressing room as well now. We're actually sitting here today on the 6-year anniversary of Bruno's signing, so we should touch upon him and his impact on this club as a whole. Where does he sort of rank for you amongst some of United's best midfielders? Because his output is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get involved in terms of where he's, you know, to others, but I think he's such an important part of this team, and he has been for 6 years now. And I was here when he came to the club, and seeing the impact he had, his attitude, his mentality, his willingness to kind of sacrifice and put himself out there every single time. The amount of games he's played, training, he doesn't miss an awful lot. Touch wood. But yeah, he's proved that for so long, and then his quality, his moments. You know, he's a fantastic footballer. You know, we're looking forward to building on what we just kind of started with the team, and he's a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we should talk about some of the other players in that have been such big parts of that team anyway. Brian Mbeumo, for instance, the start he's made to life under yourself, playing a little bit more of a central role. Do you think that's his best role, potentially, in the side, playing a little bit more centrally? Because he's a deadly finisher.
I just think he's flexible, Brian. You know, he can play different roles across the front. Yeah. To be honest, like pretty much all the boys across the front, within reason, can play different kind of roles and be fluid and be flexible. I think it's important to enable you to kind of be dangerous and try and create different movements. So. But yeah, scoring, listen, for Brian, scoring, he's played a big role in terms of his discipline and his responsibility for the team with and without the ball, and he's got his reward, so he's doing great.
Yeah, I think that is a big part of what we've seen so far anyway, isn't it? Specifically from the wide players, that sort of discipline, being defensively sound as a unit. Without Patrick Dorgu, obviously we had the news this week that he's picked up a little bit of injury. How do you go into this game adapting? Because it might be a slightly different style of player that isn't so defensively.
Yeah, I just think that's the beauty of the squad and individuals. It's a blow to lose part. I think even just to be in and out wherever he played, wherever he didn't, you know, it's you never want to lose players, but he's in such a good place. The other side of that is, you know, we can change things around a little bit. Someone else will come in, and that's part of it. And so we're looking forward to how we can adapt to that, really. And that's part of the challenges as you go through a season. You're never going to keep the same team through a season. Yeah. We've had 2 really good games, and I understand why Levine made his big games, and we've had 2 big performances, but it never carries on all the way through. You've always got to find little tweaks here and there. And this week we'll try and do that.
Obviously, we've seen you at some of the under-21 games, the 18s as well recently. Are there players in that academy that you think are ready to step up and support when injuries like this happen? Because it's been such a vital component for United throughout history.
Yeah, I mean, that's all the work, you know, and effort that the academy staff put in to kind of get the boys through the system. Ultimately, is to try and get them near the first team in the end, and we're fully aware of that. I think it's a huge part of this club. It's not something I do is because I feel I have to do it. I think it's just something that I really enjoy as well, going to see the games and feeling a connection and wanting to see who's doing well and have eyes on the younger players. I think it's really important we do that. And for them, you know, to understand there's opportunities there, and sometimes you're closer than you realise, and it doesn't take too much. And then, you know, we try and get the younger players up and around us as much as possible, training and feeling what it's like, learning off the more senior players. And at some point, yeah, you want them to make everyone can't, unfortunately, make the last step, but you want boys to make the last step and to be ready for it.
I mean, we should talk about Kobbie Mainoo while we're on the topic of academy players, because he has broken into that team, and he's such a brilliant footballer. We've seen him deployed a little bit deeper at the moment, but lots of Man United fans talking about where he could play, where his future lies. As a midfielder yourself, what do you see as the strongest elements of his game and where his future lies?
I like the way Cobby takes the ball after. I think there's a big part of being a footballer and being a top player is being able to cope with the environment.
Yeah.
And he come in at such a young age and played some big games in the Euros for England, for finals for Manchester United, and playing a big part in those games. So just being able to cope, first off, is a huge thing, and he's proved he can cope. He takes the ball, he drifts, he can play a little bit deeper at times, he can play a little bit higher up depending on who he's playing with, and I think sometimes we can pigeonhole players in certain things quite quickly, and it's not always the case. And sometimes you say things and you see things in a player and you tweak it a little bit. A bit like Patrick playing a little bit higher and playing as a high winger, and all of a sudden things open up. That's fine. You see things and you go with it. Cobby can play different roles within that, but definitely with Cassie in the middle of the last couple of games, they've had a really good pairing, and being a big part of controlling as the team. So he's so young, Cobby, and he's had some real highs, he's had some disappointments. That's natural. I was similar myself. When you're young and you're coming through, it's no different, and it makes him better, makes him stronger, and makes him more experienced. And he's showing that at the moment, and he's a joy to watch.
Do you think that's one of the benefits of having somebody like Steve Holland, who's worked with him before in that England camp, knows kind of Cobby's style and how to work with him? Has that made the transition for you a little bit easier?
I was with Cobby when he was 13, 14 in the academy, coaching him when I started coaching. So I've had that as a small part, but it's had that relationship. Obviously, Steve knows him particularly well as well, and I was just that's part of the staff and
incredible.
The makeup really is for that, not just for Cobby but for everyone, and sharing the load and trying to improve all the players. And Cobby's in a good place at the moment, and we've got to keep pushing him and supporting him and keep improving.
Final question then, Michael. Obviously, we were talking about the supporters earlier, now away end bouncing and buzzing. What are you hoping from Old Trafford this weekend against Fulham? Do you have a little message for the supporters?
Yeah, I don't think they need a message from me. I think it's pretty obvious. It's a special place, and the boys are looking forward to playing at home again. And I think the feeling of the last couple of weeks is great, but definitely understanding what this game's going to bring, and doing the right things. We're going to need them. The support, it might be tougher points in the game where we need them, and to feel that we certainly felt it over the last two games, especially away Arsenal, and the away fans were unreal. So it can't really difficult to describe how important it is for the boys to feel that, and then we've got to give them something back, and that connection is massive. And we need to create that atmosphere. We need to build it, and there's no place like it when it shows all that coming together.
Michael, love that. Thank you.
Cheers.
Just starting off with some team news. First of all, can you explain maybe how long Patrick Dorgu could be out, and are there any other players coming back, like Joshua Zirkzee on the test today?
Yeah, Josh is back training this week, which is good news. Obviously first time, so he's been out for a short amount of time, but first kind of training with us since we've been here, so that's great to have Josh back. Pat, unfortunately, he's going to be out for a period of time. We're still working through that, how long that's going to be. But so we'll have to see. Disappointing. He's had such a big couple of weeks, Pat. So we weren't sure whether it was a little bit of cramp or whether it was something a little bit more serious. And at the moment, it looks a little bit more on the serious note. So it'll be a few weeks for that. How many weeks, we'll have to wait and see. But so that's disappointing for all of us, really, and for Pat. He's in such a good place, but unfortunately it is part of football, and it's something we've got to work through and get him back as soon as we can.
And just on Delit, is he still a few weeks away?
Yeah, he's not trained with us yet, so just working through and the process really of getting him back as soon as we can.
Michael, when you look across the sort of last year or so for United, I know you've not been here that entire time, but you've watched a lot of the team. A consistent theme has been the struggle to win games consistently at Old Trafford. Do you know why that is?
I think ultimately consistency is the key to success, and I think it's in my eyes it's one of the most difficult things to achieve, to be good consistently rather.
So yeah, it takes so much, you know. It takes the level of performance, it takes the level of mentality and the intensity and the concentration, and actually be able to cope emotionally with the ups and downs of what each game brings, and moving on to the next. So there's so many things, and that kind of go into it. And listen, that's what we're working towards. You know, we've had a great couple of weeks, 2 big results. There's bigger games coming up, and it's just keeping the mind in the right place as much as the emotions to be able to go into the next game just as we have done the previous 2.
I interviewed Lisandro Martinez yesterday, and it goes in line with what you were just saying there as well. He said that you touched his heart, and that meant that he'd give you everything. I wonder how much work you've been doing in this short time, capturing hearts and minds as well as giving tactical detail as well.
Yeah, well, you got to play with feeling. You know, you got to play with emotion. You got to play with excitement, and so there's definitely that side of things, and it's something we speak about. You know, the tactical side. The technical side's one thing, but the things I've just touched on is totally something else. And the boys have been there, you know, in training and in games and in meetings and everything around the place. They've been there, and everything we've asked of them. And Leach has epitomised that in terms of how he's gone about every day, and certainly in the game. So, but we're definitely aware that of what it's taken to have the couple of weeks we've had. A couple of weeks is a couple of weeks, you know. It's good, but it's 2 weeks, and we're definitely aware that it's something we want to and we need to make extend for longer. So respecting the game, respecting what it takes to win games and how hard it is and how good a team Fulham are. That's definitely on the front of our minds.
Thank you.
Hi, Michael. Returning to Patrick for a moment, it's been reported it could be 10 weeks. Are you confident you're such a versatile player, the depth to cope with that?
Yeah, listen, obviously it's not ideal. It's not ideal. Of course it's not. We don't want to lose good players from the group, but that's part of having a squad and assembling a squad to be able to cover certain things, and we've got players that can do that. Yeah, it's the nature of the beast, unfortunately.
It will naturally, some will wonder if you're going to move in the transfer market before the deadline. Do you see any movement incoming before Monday?
To be honest, I think we're just working through it. Never say never, of course, because a lot can happen, and situations can be thrown up. Sometimes it's in our control. Sometimes it's maybe something that's out of our control that we've got to deal with. So, you know, we're calm. I'm pretty calm. I think we've got, and we've shown what we're capable of doing as a team. And we'll just have to see what the next few days bring. But I'm definitely calm about it.
Michael, the general consensus has been that if anybody did come in, then somebody would go out. And you mentioned Josh before. He's the one who persistently gets linked with moves to Italy. Have you spoken to him about his future, or has he articulated what his desire for this window is?
No, I think Josh has just been trying to work to get fit and get back around the group, and it's been great to have him back training yesterday with the group for the first time. That's literally as far as it goes for me and for Josh. You know, I'm looking forward to working with him. So that's it. Nothing else is needed to be said.
Hi, Michael. Bruno signed for the club 6 years ago today. Obviously, everyone knows what a massive impact he's had. I'm just wondering if you could explain a bit about what you found working with him. And also, every summer now, his future gets thrown into doubt. Obviously, you made comments again recently about the club wanting him to leave. Do you feel like he needs to see evidence of progress over the next few months to commit to staying on again? Because obviously, for a player of his ability, he's not won enough, has he, at this club?
I think, first of all, I've seen the impact he had as soon as he got here. You know, I was obviously here, so I've seen it at close quarters, and he had a huge impact straight away in so many ways. You know, you could see the passion, you could see how much he wanted to do well. Straight away, you've seen the quality, and that's carried on all the way through. And his consistency, really, of performances, his level of performances, his willingness to always put himself out there and physically be able to do it. And I think there's a lot to credit him for in that respect. Listen, of course, we all want to win things. We all want to get better. We want to improve as a team. We want to be successful, and that's something we've got to work towards together. But Bruno's been fantastic since I've been here. He was fantastic when I was here before, so I've got nothing but good things to say about him.
Hi Michael, it's just on the subject of Bruno's future then. I mean, A, have you talked to him about it, and B, I mean, would you expect him to be here next year, or do you feel it needs Champions League football?
I think let's not get too far ahead. You know, we're working towards this game, and he's talking about the window now and closing in a few days. That's on the agenda a little bit, but my main agenda is getting through the game on Sunday with Fulham, and Bruno's fully committed. There's absolutely no issues at all. Things further down the line, obviously addressed towards the end of the season or whatever, but everything's positive at the moment. There's no reason to be any otherwise.
Rob? Hi Michael. Just on the Fulham game, an issue that's kind of predated some of the previous managers is United sometimes struggling to break down teams who come to Old Trafford and are happy to sit a little bit deeper. Obviously, that's not the way that City and Arsenal play. Does the messaging or the game plan change at all when you've got a team like Fulham coming in? And you also mentioned after the City game that you're not always going to have the big emotions like a derby brings up, and sometimes the players are going to have to do that themselves. Is Fulham kind of an example of that?
Yeah, I don't think we need to make too much of it, to be honest. I think we are where we are. I think what the feeling around the group, around the squad, and the results that we've had, the performances, and going into the next game, I don't think the past is too relevant in that respect. You understand it and what's worked before and what hasn't, but really it's I think the boys are in a good place going into the game. Tough game, really tough challenge. I think Fulham, Marco's got them really into a really good team, so it's I think this one, of all of a sudden it's a different game. It's Fulham, and just because we're at home, taking anything for granted is bang out of order, really. So it might be a case it's the same flow of the game as what we've had the last 2 weeks. No shame in that. We'll deal with the game, what's in front of us, and do whatever it takes for us to be able to come out on top.
Hi Michael, I just wanted to ask about Mason. He was becoming a crucial player, well he was a crucial player under Ruben Amorim, but he's played just a few minutes under you and obviously didn't get on Sunday. How has he reacted to that, and also how do you see his role until the summer? Yeah,
I'm a big fan of Mason. I think he's so many good things to like about him. You know, he's quality to start with, his attitude, his personality. That's why we've got the squad. You know, certain times, certain games, certain players will play, and as we work through the season, that'll come into fruition. But yeah, I like Mason a lot, and I think he's an important player for this team and this club.
Who ended his 5-game goal drought as Manchester City secured their place in the last 16 of the Champions League by beating Galatasaray 2-0. So, Danny, obviously one of your former clubs. Following that shock defeat to Bodo Glimt, how crucial was it actually for them to win and get into that knockout phase?
Oh, definitely. Vitally important. You know, there was some bizarre calls that maybe Pep should be sacked after that game. A little bit strange, yes. I thought. I think he's got a little bit more credit in the bank than that. Mm-hmm. I mean, Erling Haaland on a goal drought, not scored for 5 games. I think I didn't score for something like 200 games. That's what you call a drought. You know, 5 games is not that bad. What's really interesting is City's still in 4 competitions. No one's really talking about City, how many could they win at the moment. Well, they're 2-0 up in the League Cup. They got a decent draw against Salford in the next round of the FA Cup. You'd expect them to go through in that. They're into the latter stage of now the Champions League. They're only 4 points behind Arsenal in the Premier League. And they're having a really bad season, apparently. I'd be careful this season. This might be a season where, not that they're going to shock a few people, but suddenly they win 2 or 3 trophies where people maybe weren't expecting them to from the form earlier on in the season. Yeah,
it's interesting you talk about the fact that, you know, they're still fighting on all 4 fronts. They've got the Salford match, but actually that coincides with quite a nice little 10-day window, which they only have that FA Cup home tie against Salford to consider in that little window. Could this be key, the fact that they avoided the playoff stage in the Champions League? This could be quite definitely. Key to the Premier League title.
Nobody needs those extra 2 games. Yeah. High pressure, high stakes. You don't need that, you know. Obviously, they've brought in Mark Gahey now as well, which is going to shore up the defence. He's going to make them better at that end of the pitch. Erling Haaland, as you say, is back scoring, and City are dangerous. City have a lot of very, very good players, you know, in their squad and in their team, and they can rotate. Next round of the league, you'd expect them to go through in the League Cup with a 2-0 lead. It won't be easy, you know, that is for sure. FA Cup, you expect them to go through. You know, let's see what the Champions League, you know, brings up. And they're chasing Arsenal down, which they've done before from much further back. You know, we've seen that happen. So I think the worry for everybody else is if City start to get on a bit of a roll, and this could quite happen. It's only January, don't forget. If City get on a little bit of a roll, we've seen them go and win 16, 17 in a row.
We have, yes.
You know, to win titles when they were being pushed 100 points. You're not going to need 100 points this season, I don't think, to win the title. So I think everyone else should be very, very careful. My fear for Arsenal would be if City overtake Arsenal at any point in the next, you know, 3-4 months, Arsenal could go. And mentally that could be very, very difficult for them to bounce back from that. I think if City take the lead at any point before the end of the season, I can't see them letting that slip.
The only one stat that I can give them that will help them is the last time they were second 3 times in a row, the 4th time they went on and won the title. That was Wenger's second year, so I'm giving you that, Arsenal fans.
Quite a long time ago.
It was quite a long time ago, but still, a stat's a stat. Let's talk about that man behind you, because a phenomenal result for him. That result made it a staggering 400 wins as the City manager. How good is he? Is he the greatest of all time in the Premier League, do you think?
I still think you've got to look at Sir Alex Ferguson. 13 league titles. Goodness knows how many league cups, FA Cups, obviously Champions League twice in there as well. It's going to be hard to eclipse that. You know, one, longevity. You know, so what was he there? 25 years. So he won more than half those titles.
Yeah.
Is Pep going to stick around that long? No. They're in the same category, I would say. You know, himself and Sir Alex Ferguson, they are there or thereabouts. Arguably, he took over a better team, a team that had already won the Premier League when he came in. He's probably had a little bit more funds. But Sir Alex had a lot of money to spend in terms of wages and players that he could bring in. They brought in 2 or 3 quality players every season. Obviously, the way that Pep plays, you know, was that way of playing football going to work? First season didn't quite work. Made a lot of changes within that squad to get the right players in, and then it's worked pretty much ever since then. So yeah, I think, you know, he's been absolutely exceptional. I think his drive, his desire to go season after season after season is what is special. You know, they say to win 1 is very, very difficult. To win 2 is even harder. To then keep that and go 3, 4, 5, that's really something special, because as a player, we've seen it before. You know, Blackburn couldn't match it after they won 1.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you've reached the top of the mountain, all now on a bit of a slide. Leicester did exactly the same. You know, to go again and repeat those same standards for another year, Pep's managed to do it year after year after year. Yeah, of course he's able to refresh the squad, but his own drive and determination to do that, it's probably cost him personally. You know, we've seen that. But that's the guy that he is. You know, we saw before that he would burn out after 3 or 4 years. At City, he's managed to keep that going. He's got a bit more longevity. How long he will be there, who knows? But at the moment, yeah, without a doubt, he's in the same conversation, I think, as Sir Alex Ferguson.
Well, Dave has more on Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I just wanted to put into perspective, really, those 400 victories for Pep Guardiola makes him the quickest manager of a top division club in history to reach the landmark. It took him 569 games. Guardiola beat the previous record set by Arsene Wenger at Arsenal, 696. So more than 100 games quicker, Pep Guardiola did it. Astonishing. And as Danny quite rightly points out, Sir Alex Ferguson on that list as well, some illustrious names there to reach 400 wins as a manager of a top division club in England. Now, we've also talked about Erling Haaland there. He scored in City's comfortable win over Galatasaray last night. He'd actually gone 5 games without scoring up until last night. And in terms of Premier League appearances, he's only scored 1 in his last 6, and that was a penalty against Brighton. And if we compare his first 17 games in the Premier League this season with his last 6, you can see a dip in form, which has actually been reflected in the team only winning 2 of those last 6 games. Now, The minutes per goal is something to concentrate on. That's in red. Dropped considerably over the last 6 appearances. His shot conversion is also down at just 5%, and he's also having fewer shots per 90 minutes as well. But do we expect now...
And Larsson, is he edging towards being a Palace player? Mark McAdam, some breaking news.
He is getting closer. This is a huge deal for Crystal Palace. The reason why it would potentially be a huge deal, this would be a club record transfer fee paid for a player. You have to remember they actually broke their club record at the start of the window when they signed Brennan Johnson. Steve Parish, the executive chairman, looks like he's going to splash the cash again, because our latest information here at Sky Sports News is that Crystal Palace are close to an agreement with Wolves for Jurgen Strand Larsen, worth £50 million as a total package. That's 45 million, with 5 million in potential add-ons based on performances. We said earlier on today there'd been no formal bid, but this deal is now getting close, and it's just a matter of time before we get an agreement completely agreed between the two sides. So really significant news. This would obviously point potentially to the departure of Jean-Philippe Mateta, but our Crystal Palace sources are actually saying, no, we want both players. This is not a case of one in, one out. We want to strengthen our striking department, and we believe Jurgen Strand Larsen is one of the players to do that. We also know that Leeds were at the table for Jurgen Strand Larsen. They had an offer rejected earlier on in the window, so there is a lot of Premier League interest. We were saying that Wolves valued the player at around £40 million. The fact that they're going to get a deal now, which we understand to be worth 50, shows incredible business by them. We know that Newcastle nearly tried to sign him in the summer as well. A man that's got 1 Premier League goal so far this season, on the verge now of a £50 million deal to Crystal Palace.
Kevin, you have cast your net across Europe, looking for someone for Crystal Palace as well, and I know you watch a lot in the Bundesliga and in Italy as well, and France. Is this a deal that makes a lot of sense? Is he Premier League proven, given the lack of goals this season?
Well, I think he is, because you look at last season and he was scoring goals, making goals. You wondered when he was scoring goals in La Liga with Celta whether he could make the leap. I think he showed that he could do that last season. This season's been really, really difficult for everyone at Wolves. They made such an awful start, and he's had injury problems as well. So I think clubs are looking at him, looking at what he's done in the Premier League. It's not a long track record, but it is rare to find somebody who can score goals in volume, and he was able to do that.
And let's not forget that Oliver Glasner, got a lot out of Jean-Philippe Mateta in terms of the player that you saw, Kevin, when he was at Mainz, was a very different player. And all right, it's not going to be Glasner for a long time at Crystal Palace, but if someone can get him back to the purple patch that he had when Vitor Pereira came in at Molineux, that is the player that they want.
I think that's a really important parallel, actually, because if you look at the guy that was at Mainz, I was gobsmacked, really, when he made that leap to the kind of player that we now know, because he was always very streaky at Mainz. He'd score a hat-trick, then he wouldn't score for a few games, and you'd wonder, is this a guy that can really do it at Premier League level? Glasner has brought the absolute best out of him. He's had a phenomenal spell.
And just to reiterate Mark McAdam on the Mateta situation, is there a world when they could actually keep Mateta and Strand Larsen going into the final few months of the season, into the summer?
Well, I said about the Crystal Palace PR noise, they're not going to turn around and say publicly, yes, now we want to sell Jean-Philippe Mateta because we're bringing in Jurgen Strand Larsen. They are going to put out those noises that they want to keep both players because they don't want to devalue any possible money that they could get for Jean-Philippe Mateta. We know that Jean-Philippe Mateta is open to a new challenge. He'd like to play for a side that are in and around the Champions League or potentially could get to the Champions League. It feels like now, for him personally, this is the right moment to move on and try a new challenge. He's got 18 months left on his current Crystal Palace contract. You've already said it, Oliver Glasner's got the best out of him at times, and he's played probably some of his best football at Crystal Palace, won the FA Cup. He's been a part of a really successful era at the football club. You speak to the fans, they'd probably turn around and say, right, actually, he doesn't want to be here anymore. It's time to let him go. We cannot have unhappy players at our football club, particularly at the moment where we're going through what is essentially a real transition with head coaches and players departing. And we need to rejuvenate this club, and we need players that want to play for Crystal Palace and be a part of things here. So, yeah, it's an interesting knock-on effect. The noise is it's not about one in, one out, but you suspect that now Jean-Philippe Mateta and his days at Crystal Palace will be coming to an end.
Would that not be crazy, Kev, to sell Jean-Philippe Mateta to essentially a relegation rival, given that West Ham have really picked up the pace as well down the bottom?
It's dangerous. Really is, because if you sell him to Forest and he goes on the kind of streak that we've seen from him in recent seasons, and that takes Forest above Palace in the standings, then that financial deal is not going to look so clever anymore. So there'd definitely be a big element of risk there. But again, you just don't know whether in new surroundings with a new team, Mateta would be able to hit those kind of levels. It is a question mark.
Just one final quick thing. Crystal Palace are very well run, and their recruitment has been exceptional. And when they let players go, often it means they've got someone else they feel can be even better. And that's what historically has happened, certainly recently. So maybe they're doing something that we don't know, and they've got things going on in the background.
That's what the Palace fans will be hoping on.
Good evening, everyone. I hope you're well. We'll start with questions from English media, followed by any questions from Turkish media, and we'll take a show of hands for questions, please. Someone to start? Someone to start, please, guys. Ben, thank you.
Pep, congratulations on reaching the last 8. What were your views on the way your team played today and saw out what was ultimately quite a nervy final round of matches in this competition for a lot of teams?
First half, well, good evening. First half better than the second half more chances than the first. A lot of things to improve, but yeah, really pleased to finish top 8, considering how the Champions League has become. When I started 16 or 17 years ago, the Champions League was another type of competition. Today, every team is really tough, and but really pleased to don't play one knockout stage, and hopefully we can arrive in Mars and our best.
Just Simon, please. Thank you.
Did you see the final goal in Benfica and Real? Will you be sending Jose Mourinho any message of thanks?
Yeah, of course.
And can I just check on Jeremy? It looked...
With?
Jeremy Doku looked potentially...
Looks injured. The calf felt something.
Do you know roughly, will he be out for the weekend?
I think so.
Shah?
It'd be important to avoid the playoff round and get some extra rest instead of playing two extra matches.
No, well, the question is not... Of course, it's better to rest a game of playoff, but he should have played, because at the end the margins have been... We had the chances to score. They have one chance, clear chances. Gigi was incredible, but the rest you have 4, 5, 6 clear chances to score more goals. Will not be that problem, but was the margin 1 goal, 2 goals the difference, and that's why it always is risky. The question is, like I said, it doesn't matter we play playoff or we don't play playoff. It's arrive in that moment in the best players fit and in the best conditions, and this is what we're going to work in the next time. But considering how many teams are out. The top teams are out 8. Don't know how difficult it is. Even winning in Norway, right? So it's difficult.
What was it like in the dressing room in the final minutes of that Benfica game?
Well, we were all there, and so we didn't know that Benfica need a goal to qualify. That's why with 3 doors and the keeper to say, they'll say, why you go? Stay in the goalie, because Madrid can equalize, and after that we are out. But it was a good strategy for Jose, right? To score the 4 goal.
Thank you. Paul?
Hey, Pep, obviously you didn't make the top 8 last year, and it's 8th this year. Just looking back on how those first 2 seasons of this kind of format go, how much harder?
I like it. I don't like because there are more games, but I like it. I like when you play home away for the fact that you know the opponent. Every game is like a final. You don't know much the opponent, what they're going to do. When you play one time in the second leg, always you have a little bit idea what they're going to do, what is the strength, the weaknesses. Here is is a final. So every game is really tough. Look how many incredible teams are out in 24. How many incredible teams are not to top 8. So, and still today was the youngest team we have played in 10 years here. The Champions League? 7, 8 players played 22 or even younger this group stage. So it's a process to learn, and hopefully, of course, where Rodri will be back and Mark and Semenyo will be back, and we'll start to play. That is a good news because we need players back.
Andy?
Yeah, hi Pep. Just going back to Jeremy. I mean, how big a miss is this going to be? Because he was brilliant tonight, wasn't he? In that first half an hour, and it's yet another injury for him.
Not just tonight, all season. But Jeremy had these a little bit problems, you know. He's much, you know, with demanding so effort, and he's. But yeah, hopefully March can be ready to help us. Madrid was exceptional, for example. I remember that in Norway could not play for the injured. For everybody knows what happened in Old Trafford, and yeah. So unfortunately, it's not ready for a few more days.
Hi, Pep. Obviously, Erling got his goal. He doesn't ever look like he's ever short of confidence. But did you sense that perhaps he needed that just for his own kind of mindset?
I love a lot that he missed one clear, and after that, the composure to make this incredible touch. When you're anxious, you are not. The problem is what happened this season. That's why we didn't win in Sunderland, Chelsea, and Brighton. So it's too many clear chances. Too many. So too easy to score goals that we don't score, and that in that moment is going to punish us. So I know we had incredible problems defensively, incredible in terms of lack of players. The reason why, but I think today they have 1 or 2 chances. They didn't have more. Against Galatasaray is good. The situation we have is at front. All of us, all. So we miss chances that should be goal, and after that we have more points in the Premier League, and we have been better in the Champions League. But we have margin to improve, and we're going for this.
Emrah Bey Anadolu Ajansı. I want to ask Turkish.
Yeah, of course. I don't speak Turkish, sorry. Is number 2?
Yeah, number 2.
Number 2? Okay. Go.
Maç öncesi Galatasaray'ı iyi analiz ettiğinizi söylemiştiniz dün. Bugün nasıl bir takım vardı karşınızda? Özellikle size ilk yarıda çok fazla zorluk çıkaramadılar. Bir de İlkay ve Diro'yu yeniden görmek size ne hissettirdi? Teşekkürler.
Well, happy to see them. Leroy and Gundo, really good. The first half, they intervened less than the second half. The second half, they were a little much better. Not much, but it was fine. And yeah, it's quite similar to the game we expect. We start really well, have chances, and maybe our process without proper holding midfielders there. No, Bernie and Nico make an incredible effort, but they are not proper holding midfielders to break more the lines. And Jeremy was brilliant, and the movements from Erling and Omar was excellent. The second half we dropped a little bit, but we had incredible chances, you know, to score 3-4, and maybe don't depend until the last moment against Madrid for qualified. You know, we need that goals, and we didn't have. And after that was in the hands from Madrid Benfica. So we were lucky in that time. Really pleased because we have long weeks we need it, and it's not just for the long weeks, you know, for the fact that we are already qualified for the next stage, and hopefully, yeah, we can arrive in that moment. We can arrive better.
Great, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Believe what you're alluding to, Max. Let it out. Let it out. What are you trying to say?
He is going. This is my hot take. You just calm down. He is a great fighter. A good big man doesn't beat a great little man. It takes something more than a good big man to do that, and Lopez is more than just good.
Punches are not made, they are born. And this guy, Lopez, was born to punch. And he's got one other thing going for him, Stephen and Max. He reminds me of Pacquiao Lopez in a way, not just with power in either hand, but his closing step, his ability to explode. You know, kind of like an athlete in football, basketball, any of those sports where it's not about running a 40, it's about the quickness, it's about the closing step, the burst. He's got that burst. Not everybody's got that burst.
Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman clash over Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez, debating skill, power, and resume.
New York City, January 31st, Shakur Stevenson, Teofimo Lopez. I always say it, when boxing gets it right, no other sport comes close. And this is boxing getting it right. The best fighting the best. Both fighters believe that this matchup settles the argument about who leads the new era. So what do we think of the styles matchup, guys? This is a high-speed chess match a la Sugar Ray Leonard or Pernell Whitaker, Leonard and Benitez, or Pernell Whitaker, Buddy McGirt. Or is it a Jerry versus Jerry fight?
Stephen A. Smith praised Teofimo Lopez's quick defense, highlighting his fast reflexes and ability to slip punches in tight exchanges.
And he made sure to show the world that at 23 years of age, I'm a champion, and you're going to have to come take this from me. I'm not giving you a damn thing. I loved his quickness. We know about Lopez's power, but I'm talking about his quickness defensively. But I saw Lopez being elusive. And I love that because it's one thing for you to have the power and the quickness to go along with the power offensively. A lot of guys can look good until they get hit. There were times where he got hit and there were other times where he was slipping.
He consistently points to Teofimo Lopez's history of rising to the occasion on the biggest stages. Smith emphasizes that Lopez is not intimidated by elite competition, citing his dominant win over Vasily Lomachenko.
And we all know that Lomachenko's footwork is exceptional. It's practically unrivaled. So you could see what he's done to numerous fighters, which contributed to them quitting, like Nicholas Walters and others. He tried that with Lopez. It didn't work. Lopez's footwork worked. His speed was there. Some power, obviously. But his elusivity is what impressed me most. The fact that he was able to slip a number, not all, but a number of those pitches.
He wouldn't let Lomachenko establish his outside foot.
And I loved it.
Yeah, for me, coming into this fight, obviously I always talk to Max about fighting. I love it. I was thinking, and Lopez mentioned it pre-fight, everybody thought it was going to be very Mayweather-Canelo when they fought, and that he would be outclassed. If you look at the first 6 rounds, it was about patience. He was patient. He didn't rush himself. He used his jab, which is something that we aren't used to seeing him do.
Teddy Atlas joined Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman, arguing that Teofimo Lopez's biggest challenge is facing the best pound-for-pound fighter. Atlas stressed Shakur Stevenson's elite fundamentals, saying Teofimo's athleticism alone won't be enough against a technician of that level.
What challenge lies ahead for Lopez this upcoming weekend?
What challenge? The challenge of fighting, for me, my estimation, the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world. Either him or Crawford. You choose it, it doesn't matter. You could flip-flop either one of them. They're the 2 top guys. The challenge is to get his bomb to the target. Yeah, like Customano, my mentor, used to say, Teddy, having power is great. But if you don't have a means to get it to the target, it has no value. It's like a military weapon, he used to say. If you don't have a missile, it just blows up and makes a big hole in the ground. So that's the challenge. Get it to the target. Get it to the chin or the body, which might be a good idea with a guy who moves his head so much, but get it to the target with Lomachenko. So keep yourself together mentally with all that going on, with all the chaos stuff coming at you, and don't get discouraged. Don't get frustrated if he's hard to hit.
Kellerman repeatedly emphasizes that Stevenson doesn't merely win fights, he neutralizes opponents. His footwork, distance control, and anticipation allow him to dictate the pace of every bout.
Shakur is one of those guys and who comes along, and I think this is really the question about him. I said he is one of those. Is he one of those guys? Like Pernell, like Roy, like Floyd, their defenses were so good. And they boxed in a way where they weren't going to take unnecessary risks. They weren't running and holding. I had a problem with the second half of the Haney-Norman fight because I felt like they continue to box. Pernell did, Roy did, and Shakur does now, right? But when a guy has those advantages in boxing skill and speed, and they don't take risks, they are almost impossible to beat. So no matter who Pernell was fighting, no matter who Roy was fighting, if someone would have asked me who they're going to be, they're fighting Godzilla, Pernell. They're fighting Roy. Shakur has that look to me, and the style to me.
He acknowledged that both fighters are highly skilled, but emphasized that Shakur Stevenson is not a puncher. He argued that Shakur wins through precision, defense, and control rather than knockout power.
And the difference here is that they're both twitchy, they're both fast, they're both excellent boxers. Teo's a puncher. I know it hasn't shown up in recent fights, but we have watched both of their careers. Shakur is not a puncher.
No.
Teo is can be an explosive, I hit you with a shot you don't see, and you are out cold type puncher.
And
talking about power, strength too. I think Teal's going to be the much stronger guy in there. Shakur Stevenson's not a strong guy.
I think he's getting stronger.
Me too. I was about to say. But this is first fight at 140 though. That's what I'm saying. I'm not disrespecting
I
his
feel
strength.
like, but I also feel like that Shakur might surprise you, Mike, with his physical strength. Physical strength, as we all know, doesn't always translate to punching power.
Sure, of course not.
But when he was a younger fighter, he looked like he could be moved around by his opponent. It doesn't look like that anymore.
No, he's definitely matured into his body. But first fight at 140, Teal's what? I think this is maybe his 5th fight at 140.
Yeah,
something like that.
That's true, but Shakur has a frame where he can put on 140 very comfortably.
Max Kellerman points out that Shakur enters the fight with more to lose because of his technical reputation and undefeated image. Teofimo, on the other hand, has more to gain as an underdog, where pressure is lower and opportunity is higher, making the fight dangerous and unpredictable.
Is there an advantage there where Shakur is fighting to protect that perfect record, to protect that kind of sense that he's the next guy? On the other hand, Teo is like he can fight with more abandon against Shakur because there's so much for him to gain. And if he loses, he's lost before. He's lost to Kambosos.
Stevenson has openly discussed how significant this contest is to him, framing it as a chance to prove he's among the very best pound-for-pound fighters in the sport.
You know, people think the fight with Teo is either going to be you delivering a masterclass
or a knockout by Teo.
Yeah, or you getting into some type of brawl with Teo and end up getting knocked out, right? What are fans getting wrong about the matchup?
I think the fans is getting wrong about the matchup is where I'm not sleeping on that I know about Teo. Teo's a good boxer. He's boxer first. So we could say, oh, he's just going to knock you out. Or he's just going to... That's not him. He's boxing first. He's going to want to establish distance and range on the outside and try to beat me up on the outside. So I think that's the main thing. And also the biggest thing that everybody don't realize with me, I can punch. Everybody say, oh, he can't punch, and then boom, crack somebody, and then they laying down, or something may happen to where they hurt or something like that. So I think that's two big things.
Many experts see Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez as a fascinating tactical puzzle where strategy, energy, and timing could decide the outcome.
Because I don't think that Shakur is going to come out and try to fight or take the fight to Teo in the first 6 rounds at all. So if he's fighting off the back foot, if Teo can make it so that he's convincingly, or he's convinced at least Shakur that he may have won 4 of the first 6 rounds. You know, if it's 4-2 in Shakur's mind going into the second half of the fight, or if I'm looking at him stealing those first 6 rounds, then it's an interesting fight going into the tail end, because Teo, to me, is a front runner, right? I want to see if he can carry his energy and his explosiveness late in the fight and not wear down. And then when Shakur starts to open up, you know, can you steal some of those championship rounds from him and make it like a close fight? I think if Teo comes out and does what he usually does, which is try to swarm Shakur early and keep Shakur on the defensive early, then he can try to steal a lot of those early rounds. And if he does that,
Lopez is often described as a fighter who starts fast and relies on mid-range explosiveness, sharp counters, and bursts of pressure early in fights. If he can't sustain that intensity for all 12 rounds, some analysts wonder whether his output might taper in the later championship rounds, opening the door for Stevenson to turn the tide.
If I'm looking at the first 3 rounds, first 4 rounds, and Teo looks like he's losing those rounds convincingly, then it's an easy night for Shakur, unanimous decision in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because I don't think Teo is going to bring anything late in the game, you know what I mean, to this fight. I think if he is who he's always been, you know, he's going to get gassed after like the 7th round and then take some rounds off. And when he does that, Shakur will open up and start to try to pick him apart, pot shot him, and do things like that. But this is the perfect fight, narrative-wise, for Shakur, because I've been waiting for Shakur to get into that fight where, you know, he doesn't have the fight where he doesn't have his Diego Corrales fight. You know what I mean? Where you think he's actually in danger. Shakur has been he's been outclassing everybody he's in the ring with. You know what I mean? Then the guys that you think could give him some work, like De Los Santos, I know people hate when I bring that fight up, but I want to see him actually in danger
Insiders believe fights like Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez are exactly what boxing needs right now. Legendary former champion Roy Jones Jr. described the potential matchup as a true skill-for-skill battle, comparing it to elite-level showdowns such as Canelo Alvarez versus Terrence Crawford. According to Jones, bouts of this caliber restore credibility to the sport by putting the best fighters against one another in their prime.
We're going to start with you, Pierre. Shakur and Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson getting it on in about 3.5 weeks or something like that. Also on the undercard is Keyshawn Davis, but the main event. Let's jump into the main. Tell me what you're thinking.
You got an ultimate skill fighter versus a boxer who's twitchy, and twitchy sometimes beats out skills. Sometimes. That's the side that can really beat a straight up boxer to me. Somebody who's twitchy, because they don't fight, as normally as most boxers fight. They give angles, body movements, bouncing around like a Lomachenko would done. Even a Crawford does. You know what I'm saying? Moves different angles and so forth. That's why they can beat a lot of boxers.
Analysts agree, noting that both Stevenson and Lopez bring championship experience, star power, and something to prove. Their contrasting styles, such as Stevenson's elite technical precision, defense, and ring intelligence against Lopez's explosive power, speed, and aggression, create a high-stakes, must-see clash. This type of matchup naturally fuels debate, builds anticipation, and captures casual and hardcore fans alike when prime fighters take real risks against elite opposition. Boxing thrives, delivering the competitive drama and memorable moments that reignite fan passion.
But I don't know who's going to show up what day. What Shakur showing up, or what Tio's going to show up. You get what I'm saying?
Nah, we gonna always Shakur gonna always be Shakur. The offense that we saw from him in his last fight was just, he knew what he had in front of him. And eventually he knew that he was going to be in a position where he could have his way with the kid who was in the ring. I'm losing his name off the top of my head.
Right, I know you're talking about. But I believe he fought that way because he started hearing all the call of him running. He started saying, you know what? Let me stay in the pocket, because he stood in the pocket a lot more than he normally stood in the pocket with that fight. You know what I'm saying?
It took some unnecessary shots.
Huh?
It took unnecessary shots.
Well, okay, right. Mm-hmm. But you see what kind of fan base he got after that too. The doubters started saying, you know what, I'm going to roll with him more, because we were getting tired of him running and skillfully beating people. That gets boring. Like Mayweather did his last 10 fights damn near.
Stevenson's boxing style often draws criticism for being boring, but that label misunderstands the craft behind his approach. He relies on elite footwork, precise counters, and defensive mastery rather than wild aggression or constant exchanges. Many fans and casual viewers crave dramatic knockouts and relentless pressure, which Stevenson rarely prioritizes. His fights can appear methodical or slow, emphasizing strategy over spectacle, yet this cautious, cerebral style has made him exceptionally hard to hit and highly effective against top-tier opponents. While not flashy, Stevenson's technique exemplifies modern boxing intelligence, proving that control and timing can be just as thrilling as knockout power.
I think y'all scared of Shakur.
Nobody's scared of Shakur, bro.
I think y'all be ducking
Shakur's scared of his shadow, bro. Relax,
I think y'all
bro.
be ducking Shakur.
Shakur,
right?
You see his last fight?
One the fans want to see, though.
No, they don't.
Yes,
Stop hyping up Shakur.
I want to see Ryan and Shakur.
I've not heard that at all.
Yeah.
I've never
You wouldn't want to see that?
I never heard. Nobody on the street has ever been like, yo, Shakur, you would be crazy.
Who should Shakur Stevenson fight next?
I don't think he should fight at all ever again, because he just puts the fans to sleep and he's not doing anything entertaining for the damn sport. Honestly, just kick him out of boxing, bro. He's horrible.
God damn.
I'm asking you this. You think Dana would put up with Shakur? He'd be the first one to get kicked out of the UFC, right or wrong?
I will say this. You're right. Dana definitely wants, because it's a promotion, it's an entertainment company.
Okay, boxing's an entertainment company too. He ain't doing the sport a favor, so kick him out.
How would that fight between him and David Haney go?
Honestly, man, if you want to get off to that, man, you better off watching like Gabe.
However, Amir Khan has acknowledged Shakur Stevenson as a highly skilled, technically gifted fighter who brings something important to the sport, even if his style isn't always exciting for casual fans. Stevenson's precision, defense, and ring IQ make him exceptionally difficult to hit and beat, which is the essence of boxing. While Khan has praised other fighters like Teofimo Lopez for their aggression and power, he also respects Stevenson's elite abilities. He understands that fans often misinterpret tactical, defensive excellence as boring. At the highest levels, slipping punches, controlling range, and outthinking an opponent are marks of true mastery. Stevenson's technique and success against top competition show that there's beauty in skill, not just knockouts.
What do you think about the criticism that Shakur gets? Like, people say that he's
boring and all that.
he's not entertaining.
I mean, look, he's like an Andre Ward style. Andre Ward wasn't really that entertaining, but got the win. I mean, that's what boxing's all about. So I used to love watching Andre Ward fight because it was so punch perfect. I watched his footwork, how he moved to the right, to the left, and I trained with him as well, with Virgil, and I used to watch how he trained and how he fought, and I thought how he puts his hands down and uses it as a defense, and then pulls your hands down and catches you over the top, and them little things. So this is a fight that people get, because you got two different styles. You got an offensive, defensive in Lopez, and you've got a defensive in Shakur.
Stevenson has been outspoken and confident about both his preparation and mindset heading into a potential fight with Teofimo Lopez. Throughout training camp, Stevenson has emphasized how sharp, disciplined, and locked in he feels, suggesting that this is the best version of himself fans have seen. He has repeatedly stated that his focus is on execution rather than hype, believing that his skill set will separate him on fight night. While Stevenson has shown respect for Lopez's talent, athleticism, and power, he has made it clear that mistakes will not go unpunished. Stevenson believes Lopez's aggressive style can create openings, and he plans to exploit those moments with precision and timing. Confident in his game plan, Stevenson says he intends to impose his own pace and strategy, controlling the fight from start to finish and shocking the world with a performance that leaves no doubt about his elite status.
You know, your division at that time and then the one above you, but it's in a message to the fans. But I think it also did something for you to prove to yourself that, man, listen, that wasn't like my best performance, but I showed you I can get it out the mud. What did that performance kind of do for you now that you look back at it?
Honestly, I think like styles-wise, I think that Zepeda's style is the style that's supposed to give me the most trouble. Like, guys that box and give me time to think is the guys that's gonna have a fit with me all night. But the guys who press me and put me against some ropes and throw a million punches, that's the style that's supposed to give me trouble. So I went out there and I prevailed against that style, and now I'm fighting against a boxer, which for me, it just makes it more fun. I don't have to deal with a guy trying to like wear me down so much.
Right. Meanwhile, Tio is approaching this fight with renewed confidence and a heightened sense of purpose, viewing it as a defining moment in his career. He has made it clear that he feels mentally sharp, physically powerful, and fully aligned with his training and preparation. Rather than being weighed down by expectations, Tio is embracing the spotlight, believing this is exactly the kind of stage he was built for. His mindset reflects maturity and hunger, driven by past experiences that have strengthened his resolve. Lopez sees this bout not as pressure, but as an opportunity to showcase his full arsenal, his speed, strength, ring IQ, and competitive fire, while reminding everyone why he remains one of boxing's most dangerous and gifted fighters.
You know, my mind is limitless, so then again, it's like I could always succeed to another level with it, and exceed to it. So it's really just trying to just keep it going. Keep moving forward throughout the whole time and throughout the whole process, and mainly just have fun with it. You gotta have fun with what you do. I love this. I haven't stopped doing what I've done because of the fact that I enjoy what I do. This has been 20 years in the making, 20 years in this, and I have so much to do and so much to prove within myself. So mentally, I'm prepared. Physically, I'm more than ready, and emotionally, I'm on fire, I'm on fire with it, because all I ever did was try to be great, and it's no longer trying. I am great, and it's all about just continuing and holding that. So it's all about just staying humble throughout the process, keeping myself level-headed, and really just enjoying each day that we get, because tomorrow's never promised.
Ultimately, a victory over Teofimo Lopez would be a defining moment in Shakur Stevenson's career. Beyond adding another world title to his resume, it would elevate his credibility and strengthen his leverage in negotiations for a long-awaited showdown with Gervonta Tank Davis. Many fans and insiders believe that defeating a proven star like Lopez is the final statement Stevenson needs to firmly establish himself as the division's top contender, making a clash with Davis not just desirable, but unavoidable.
Real hard. Man, what do you say to that, bro? Like, you hear him, bro? I just can't wait to beat him and shut him up, bro. T.O. not on this level. T.O. is a high-level fighter, but he's not on my level. I'm an elite level fighter, and come January 31st, I'm going to show it.
You've shown respect to him for his performances in the past, what he's done. He's fought guys like Lomachenko and Taylor. You say that he's not on your level. Why do you think you're on just a different level than him?
Because I seen him at his best. Against Taylor, against Lomachenko, he was at his very best. That was the best he can do. I don't think he can do nothing better than that. So
self-projection.
What I seen from that fight, I feel like I'm way better than them guys. With Lomachenko, like I said, he didn't throw punches for 6
Objection.
rounds. For 6 rounds. So if you ain't throw punches for 6 rounds and you get in front of me,
and you was
I just don't know. I would have beat Lomachenko that night easy too.
Will Lopez's power and aggression make the difference and allow him to protect his belt? Drop your thoughts in the comments below.
Benfica have a free kick on the edge of the box, and the keeper is up. Why? And as the keeper scored, he has.
Oh my God!
Wow! The Benfica goalkeeper Anthony Trubin in the 98th minute has just scored from a ball into the box, and Benfica and Mourinho have won it. Surely now, there's no more time. Surely. Mourinho,
they must move
on
up.
the touchline. Mercy, you've just watched it. What are you saying?
They must move up because the goalie come up. They're 3-2 up. So they must have needed a goal.
Yeah.
They must have needed a goal. Otherwise, why would the goalie come up?
You're winning 3-2.
All right.
Goal difference.
Goal difference. He's got to go in.
Go up.
They're getting mad, the Benfica players. And
right.
Mourinho.
Yes, right, okay. I was so fixed with the top 8.
Wow.
Let's go down to the playoff places. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
Good job, someone's alert. There's been a lot to try and stay across the night. But yeah, with that goal, on goal difference, great spot. Benfica, that's why the goalkeeper was up.
Header.
Oh, they crept into the playoff places.
What a header.
Marseille who drop out. Benfica goalkeeper has sent his team into the playoff places. Quite amazing. You can probably
look at Jose. Jose's there.
Watching this. And Mourinho, classic Mourinho, charging down the ball. Hugging ball boys, all sorts is going on. Benfica, their goalkeeper is the hero. He slides on his knees. It's going to be one of those enduring images with his players around him, because that's the goal that's probably secured their playoff place when they were heading out of the Champions League. And it is the goal that makes absolutely sure that Real Madrid will not be qualifying directly for the last 16. They will drop in to the playoff places, and Manchester City can breathe a sigh of relief, because they will be among the Premier League teams who go through. It is all over. What a result. What an end to the night. It's been something else, hasn't it? Wow. Benfica 4, Real Madrid 2. OK, here are the full times. Ajax 1, Olympiacos 2. We'll show you what all this means to the table in a moment, because quite frankly, right now, I haven't got a clue. Arsenal 3, Kairat Almaty 2. 8 wins in a row for Arsenal. Never been done before in one season by a Premier League team. Kai Havertz scoring on his return as well. Athletic Club 2, Sporting 3. It was that late goal for Sporting which sent them in to the top 8. So they will be in the last 16. Atletico Madrid will have to go to the playoffs. They've lost to Bodo Glimt. What a week for them, the Norwegians. Beating Manchester City one week, beating Atletico Madrid the next. Inter Milan, 2-0 winners away to Borussia Dortmund, but it's not enough for them. It's the playoffs. Leverkusen, 3-0 winners over Villarreal. Barcelona doing what they needed to do to qualify, 4-1 winners over Copenhagen. And Marcus Rashford among their scorers. Then the game we've just been following there. What late drama. Real Madrid losing to their old boss, Mourinho. First time he's ever beaten his former club when he's been up against them. And their goalkeeper scoring the goal that sends them into the playoffs on goal difference. And Real Madrid will have to settle for the playoffs. Club Brugge beating Marseille by 3-0. Here's the second page for you. Tottenham winning, and they're through. Solanke and Colomwani against his old side with the winners in Germany. Liverpool thumping Karabakh 6-0. McAllister with a couple of them. Salah scoring a lovely free kick as well. Manchester City through 2, beating Galatasaray by 2-0. Haaland back in the team and back in the goal. Shirky got the other. Monaco 0, Juventus 0. We'll show you what that means for them shortly. Chelsea, what a result. Coming from behind to win in Naples against their old boss Conte. João Pedro with the last 2 goals to send them through to the last 16. The Cypriot side, Paphos, 4-1 winners over Slavia Prague already out. Newcastle leaving Paris with a point. It's not enough, though, to see them into the last 16. They must go into the playoffs, and PSG will have to join them. Bayern Munich 2-1 winners in Eindhoven, thanks to a Harry Kane winner, and Union Saint-Gilloise beating Atalanta by 1-0. So here is the final table. Down the left, the teams in gold, directly qualifying for the last 16. No worry of the playoffs for them. Arsenal winning the group. 8 wins from 8 on 24 points. Bayern second on 21. They cannot meet to the final, by the way, if all goes to plan for them. Liverpool through in third on 18. Spurs in fourth on 17. Barcelona, Chelsea with that comeback in Naples, Sporting with that late drama in Spain, and Manchester City just about clinging on in the end to 8th place. It was the playoffs last season. No worries this year. They are through. Into the playoffs, though. Some huge names. Real Madrid dropping out in the final minutes, finishing 9th. Inter Milan, runners-up last year, will have to go into the playoffs. PSG, the winners, the reigning champions, likewise. Newcastle after that draw. Juventus, Atletico, Atalanta and Leverkusen. Dortmund, Olympiacos, Bruges, Galatasaray, Monaco, Karabakh, Bodo Glimt and Benfica. And then, in the elimination zone, the teams heading out include the likes of Marseille, Napoli and Ajax. Now, why is everybody waving at me?
Real Madrid play Benfica. Again.
Ah, right, okay. Yeah. Oh, you're one step ahead.
And Inter Milan play Bodo Glimt.
Newcastle, Monaco.
Someone's done their homework. They've worked out who plays who.
Well, yeah, we have to, don't we?
Because they were waving at me there, I thought I'd really mucked it up.
Nah, you've done well, Jules.
No, you've done well.
OK, so that's the final table. So we now can sort of start to look ahead at the knockout path. So this is who could play who. Don't forget, the playoff draw takes place in a couple of days' time, this coming Friday. But Monaco or Karabakh could play PSG or Newcastle, with the winners of that playoff to face Barcelona or Chelsea. So you could have a case of Newcastle against Barcelona or Chelsea. Club Brugge or Galatasaray will play Juventus or Atletico Madrid, with Liverpool or Tottenham lying in wait in the next stage. Bodo Glimt into the playoffs after an amazing week, and Benfica scraping into the playoffs with their goalkeeper scoring the important goal at the end there against Real Madrid or Inter Milan, the winners of that one, Sporting or Manchester City. So you could have a City-Real Madrid rematch in the later stages, and Borussia Dortmund or Olympiacos against Atalanta or Bayer Leverkusen. The winners will play either Arsenal or Bayern Munich. So that awaits Arsenal or Bayern. We've just got a bit of time, Merce. You've been studying it closely. What do you think of that?
It's a nice draw for Arsenal, isn't it? Nice draw for Arsenal. Yeah, you'd settle for that. If that's all right. I didn't get that. I thought it was like...
Yeah. We're just trying to make it a bit more straightforward.
Yeah. No, I thought, why Real Madrid, why is 9th not playing 20, whatever it is? 24th.
They're seeded, aren't they? It's seeded teams against unseeded teams.
That's why Madrid is seeded.
Trust your way for us.
I trust them. They don't want to rely on me. If they're relying on me, they're in trouble. They're in trouble. Marseille are through.
Nice of us to end the night on a moment of confusion. Anyway, right, let's say thank you very much to our guests as time has beaten us. Thank you to Michael and to Tim and to Joe. We really enjoyed your company. To Clinton and to Merce.
Cheers, Joe.
Well done, guys. Thanks very much indeed. What a night.
About this team who were champions
pretty
recently, Jim.
Yeah, I don't like their body language. I don't like when the corner came in, when they were attacking and there was a counter-attack. There was no urgency. The goalkeeper gets the ball, he throws it really quick. There was no urgency from 11 players. You know, I don't like that, you know. I think that can be way better. And as you said, long throw-ins, it's 99.9%. It's not the first ball that is going to score. It's always the second ball, and it's a setup how to defend them, and you go and attack them. And if you lose your first header, the other one should normally pick up the second ball.
And it's a real jolt for Liverpool, Jamie, isn't it? Because they had been building this unbeaten run that was picking up a little bit of momentum. Although the Liverpool fans will take some convincing on that, I think, certainly a large group of them. But from the start of the season, when they'd won those first 5 and you had concerns, then on that awful run of 6 defeats in 7, then it was a case that Arne Slot, it seemed, had been able to turn the corner with this recent run of form.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no one's been convinced that Liverpool at the start of the season or on this unbeaten run. That was just to stop defeat, to make everybody feel a little bit better. But when you get to sort of this situation here now, that is nowhere near good enough. And the real worry I have for Liverpool in terms of actually qualifying for the Champions League is the fact that if I think of the 3 big things that would stand out for me in the Premier League now that you're coming up against, it's set pieces and long throws. It's counter-attacking football, for and against, both set pieces and counter-attacking. And if you're a top team like Liverpool coming up against low blocks, as Arne Slot likes to say, Liverpool can't cope with any of them. So what we're seeing is a team in the Premier League who's not suited to the Premier League. But when we see them in Europe, is set pieces as important and long throws? No. Is counter-attacking as important? Counter-attacking's always important, but not as much in European football, and nobody's just sitting there in a low block. So this suits Liverpool. They can beat Real Madrid, they can go away to Inter Milan and win, they can go away and Marseille win, and they'll finish in the top 8 and be in the knockout round. But Liverpool, I think, as a club and a support, can accept an almost collective responsibility around we're not going to win the league this year and we're not going to challenge. We accept it. Not good enough, but we accept it. Once you start seeing what Manchester United have done the last couple of weeks, once you start seeing Chelsea, when you start seeing where Liverpool could actually finish outside the Champions League positions, because I really fear for them. Because as I said, I don't think this team is equipped for Premier League football. Once you start fearing Champions League qualification for next season, that's when I think we've got a completely different proposition when we're talking about the manager's job. That, for me, is completely different. If we're talking about not winning the league or challenging for the league, that is collective responsibility, and Liverpool don't win the league every year. Not making the Champions League from champions, spending 450 million and having the highest wage bill in the Premier League, which is the biggest sort of determining factor normally about where you finish in the league, I think you've got serious questions to ask.
Champions League or bust for Slot, is it?
In terms of qualifying, yeah. Listen, I think some of the criticism he's had and disrespect of Liverpool supporters who I see and know I think is far too much, considering he won the league title last season. But, as I said, if you don't qualify for the Champions League, having won the league the season before and spent as much as Liverpool do, I don't think you've got a leg to stand on.
Does that sound harsh, Jimmy, or fair?
It's a result game, isn't it? It's one of those things. I can understand it. If he doesn't have Champions League, there will be a precaution.
What would they say in Holland about that?
In Holland, they won't like it because they like Slot. I like Slot, but...
I like Slot. I like Slot.
No, the thing is, sometimes for a Dutch manager, it is a little bit difficult to bring Dutch football over to the Premier League. Things are totally different. You can't be as open. And teams are way closer football-wise, running-wise, physically-wise, than in Holland.
Jimmy, can I ask you a question?
And in Holland, hold on, and in Holland, everybody wants to play open football. You know, it doesn't happen in England.
What we saw last season, I think, it's a Jurgen Klopp team where Arne Slot sprinkles his bits on it. You know, and he does some great things with certain players, with Diaz, with Gravenberch. He gets more out of Mo Salah than we've seen for a couple of years. But the football that we're seeing now from Liverpool, are we actually seeing? Is this more what Arne Slot is? Are we morphing more into the Arne Slot in terms of the football, the slow play?
I think he wanted to play more football, more control, more with the ball, more slower. But then you have the words, you have Atike coming in, who don't react, don't have the things that the other players had the year before, that reaction, that running, that grit, you know, what made Liverpool really strong. They have lost that, for my liking. They have lost that. And they want to do it a different way. They're being counter-attacked, as you say, way too much. And they don't control the counter-attack. they used to control the counter-attack. Many goals in the Premier League are being scored by counter-attack and like set pieces and all that kind of stuff. But if you control the counter-attack, majority of the matches you win in the Premier League.
It's the state of play as we head into this big night then in the Champions League. Before we sort of speak individually about each game, I mean, generally just seeing that state of play in that table, Merce, with, you know, a scenario where all 6 Premier League sides go through to the last 16 tonight. We've not had an English team in the final, let alone win it for the last 2 years. But, you know, does this feel like this is the year we get a Premier League winner again?
Looking at them and looking at the group so far, you'd be shocked. But the tournament starts. We see that with Liverpool last time. They won the whole thing. I think they lost 1 game. They get PSG, you know, and then they're out. So, yeah, looking at it, I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if an English team wasn't in the final. But the big European teams like your Bayern Munich, your Barcelona, your PSG, on any given day, they can rip you apart. And later on in the stages of the group, like knockout, one bad 45 minutes and it's see you later, in my opinion. Especially if you have a bad 45 minutes against Barcelona, PSG or Bayern Munich, there'll be 2 or 3 up. And that's where... But at the moment, as we look here, I would say Arsenal.
Well, they are the favourites. I know you'll have an Opta predictor.
Yeah, I love it.
Merce. That's about 28%. They are the favourites to win it. Clinton, you know, I think last season we had the All-Premier League final in the Europa League. Chelsea won the Conference League. Does it feel like we are coming into another era of English domination, would you say?
Well, the Premier League is the best league in the world, so that is why all the teams
doesn't
like
always
that...
prove it in the Champions League.
It doesn't in the Champions League, but me personally, I think it's the best league in the world. Listen, other countries would disagree with me, but there is top teams. You can never write off Real Madrid. I just looked at what the Opta computer said, and Real Madrid are way down. I know they've not been playing well recently, but usually, and it's probably a different manager now because Arbeloa has gone in there and they've lost Alonso. But when Ancelotti was there, you were thinking it's a different game. So there's a lot of good things. I think the one I look at this year is Bayern Munich. I know Merce said Arsenal favourites, and I know Arsenal have already beat Bayern Munich. But in these phases, this helps like the lesser teams, and then it gets to knockout football. I think Bayern Munich, with the squad they've got and the striker in Harry Kane, they've got a good opportunity. But I do believe, an English team will be in the final, and it's good for the Premier League, and it's good for the English teams as well.
And actually, if we look at the record of the English sides in the Champions League so far this season, look at this. In comparison to the rest of the top nations, the English sides have won 89 points, nearly 40 more than any other country. Spain second, then Italy, Germany and France. Then, go on, Merce.
Spain, Italy, Germany and France all got 5 teams in it, though?
No.
Oh, OK. No, I mean,
which
it's a big advantage.
But still,
so, you know...
28 wins.
Yeah. No, but... Yeah. No,
Fair
it's
point.
good, but I'm just saying...
Don't argue with yourself.
No, but I mean...
You're going on percentage because we've got 6 teams in the Champions League. Is that what you're saying?
6 teams in the Champions League. How many has Spain got?
So you're giving it context, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that wide as what that record says. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But the reason there is 6 is because English teams are so dominant.
Yeah.
And forget talking about top 4, it's top 5, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's top 5 every single year, it seems to be now. So it's more opportunities for people to qualify for the Champions League, which seems to be the holy grail. Years gone by, I know I'm an old man, but it used to be, like you said on the tin, Champions League. Only champions. Not anymore.
So, I mean, just a thought, though. I mean, you know, Joby, given the Premier League spending surpassed £3 billion in the summer, and I think this is correct, more than all the other 4 major leagues combined, English clubs should be dominating the competition, shouldn't they?
Yeah, and I think it does show the dominance that the Premier League has over the European rivals now, Jules. I think you only have to look at a Spurs and what they've done in the Champions League versus what they've done in the Premier League to just see how competitive, you know, certainly our league is on a week-to-week basis versus going against some of those European teams. And I think we've seen it over the last however many years, maybe years gone by, like Tim's mentioned, those top marquee elite players would probably come over to England and play for sort of, you know, the top teams, where I think you're seeing a real sprinkling of that now, you know, across the Premier League, not just the big teams, but actually probably some of those players that might be in some of the European top teams, Italian League and Spanish League, but they're now coming even to some of the lesser teams over in England. So I think we're seeing the financial power that the Premier League is. You know, whether that translates to winning it is a different matter, because you've still got the Real Madrids that seem to turn up.
Yeah.
You know, PSG last year, you know, that came away from that sort of superstar model. So I still think it'll be a challenge. I don't think it's as straightforward as maybe what it looks like today in terms of the strength so far from the English teams. But yeah, I think we'll continue to see that trend carry on as well.
The big advantage, we have the big advantage at the start with a lot of teams in the group and strong. But when push comes to shove, PSG, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they won't play on Sunday. They won't play Saturday. They'll play Friday. They might even call a game off for the Champions League. We won't. You know, we'll be fighting. Arsenal will be fighting with Man City.
Yeah, the leagues aren't as physical either, are they?
Yeah, and, you know, and they haven't got as many give-me games as we have. You know, you've seen that. So that's where the disadvantage eats away, is the quarter-final and the semi-final, where the federations, their countries look after them. You know, Arsenal could be playing like Liverpool at home, you know, like a big game on a Sunday, and then have to go to Barcelona on the Tuesday night or the Wednesday night, and Barcelona will be playing if they've got a game. So that's where that's why I don't think we've had teams in the final. It becomes a lot harder for us in the later stages.
Yeah, good point.
Some blockbuster headlines over the past couple of days, with Chelsea's most high-profile player, you'd have to say, in Cole Palmer. There's lots of talk about him potentially leaving. Manchester United, his boyhood club. Could he end up there at some point? What's the perspective from the Manchester United side and maybe the Chelsea side on that as well?
I've been talking about this. There's an awful lot of noise around this. The fact of the matter is he has a long-term contract, 7.5 years left on his Chelsea contract. He's on a very good deal there in terms of his weekly wage. I can't see any way that Chelsea would let him go. But more to the point, Manchester United couldn't afford him right now, and they're not looking for any attacking options. Look, I'd be surprised if Manchester United did anything in terms of incomings in this transfer window. They've got a new strategy. They plan to do it transfer window by transfer window. The last window in the summer was when they went big. They spent over £300 million on £280 million on attacking players. The focus next summer will be on central midfield players, defensive central midfield players. Well, that's not Cole Palmer. I can't see how he would necessarily fit into the United squad right now. He is not a priority for them. It's pretty clear that Cole Palmer is a Manchester United supporter. It's pretty clear that his family are. I think there's some suggestion, and from the people I've been speaking to, some truth in the fact that he's maybe not settled as quickly as he would have liked in the southeast, and that he's still got a lot of family up in the northwest. So maybe there's a pull to draw him back there. But there's a huge difference between that and that player leaving Chelsea to go to Manchester United. Chelsea wouldn't let him go. Manchester United don't want him right now, so it's almost irrelevant what Cole Palmer and his family might want at the moment. And maybe something in the future. Maybe Cole Palmer would like to go to Old Trafford in the future. Maybe United might go for him in the future. But I don't see anything imminent there. United are focused on other areas of the squad, plain and simple.
They're not going to let him go, are they?
Look, I think behind closed doors, privately, Chelsea will be laughing off these reports because Cole Palmer is 22. He was player of the tournament at the Club World Cup. He's had injury problems so far this season, which have prevented him from being at his best. But his contract at Chelsea means that he will be a Chelsea player until he's 30, and he's 22 at the moment. Now, can I see him playing for Manchester United one day? Yes, because he's a United fan. And I think if you were one of his close friends and you were talking to him, he would probably say to you, look, one day I would like to play for Manchester United. But just because he grew up a United fan doesn't mean he's going to end up playing for them. I mean, he was a United fan, but he ended up at the Manchester City Academy. Yeah. And he was working under Jason Wilcox, I think, who was the academy director, who's now the director of football at Manchester United. And there are very good relations between Chelsea and Manchester United. So if United were really interested in signing him, all they would have to do is pick up a phone and call Chelsea. And I'm sure that would never happen. And if it did, Chelsea would just say, are you having a laugh? This is not going to happen. I think his profile in the game at the moment, how much would it cost to sign him? 150, 200 million pounds. United don't have that kind of money, and at the moment, they don't need him.
Also, as well, I just wonder what Chelsea fans make of this. If there was to be any revelation of truth in this, What would Chelsea fans say about one of their star player, a player they absolutely worship, potentially thinking and saying, I want to get to Manchester United, you know, where, with all due respect, United are not at the same level that Chelsea are at the moment. So, look, I think it's tittle-tattle. I think there's maybe some words being said behind the scenes about what may happen in the future. There's family loyalties here. There's words coming out from the family. I don't see any substance in it from Chelsea's perspective or from Manchester United's perspective.
I think Chelsea just view him as being untouchable.
Talking about untouchable, let's go straight to Naples because Chelsea are facing Napoli, and we're going to be talking about Cole Palmer, and here he is, the untouchable Gary Cottrell. Big Champions League game, Gary. We've just been talking about him, and he could be available for them, couldn't he?
Yeah, the thigh bone's connected to the groin bone's connected to the toe bone, and of course the song doesn't go like that, does it? And it's complete nonsense because I don't think there is a bone in the groin, but that kind of sums up Cole Palmer's injury-interrupted season. First of all, it was the groin, which kept him out for quite a while. Then just as he was coming back, he stubbed his toe at home in some kind of domestic accident, and then he was brought back gradually, managing his minutes because he's that important to the club. Played the full 90 minutes for the first time in a long time against Brentford, a couple of Premier League games ago, and then got this latest thigh niggle, which kept him out of Paphos in the Champions League and Crystal Palace at the weekend. But he is back in training, back in the Chelsea training ground earlier today. He will be on the flight out here as we speak, and he is available for selection again for the game against Napoli tomorrow night. So he's happy when he's playing. You've discussed there his future and the fact that it's very unlikely he's going to be leaving Chelsea anytime soon. We know the mood music is from the club, from him, that he's happy at the club. The fans love him, the ownership love him. Liam Rossini, I know for a fact, loves him, and Cole Palmer loves being at the club, particularly when he's fit and playing. And he hasn't had enough of that, has he, this season? So once he's back to full match fitness and coming in with the assists and the goals again, I'm sure that he'll be settling into having the rest of the season as a top season, beginning, hopefully, in the Champions League against Napoli tomorrow night.
Time over key midfielder. United need to make massive contract offer to keep skipper. I was hunting around for quotes and details here. The one that really stands out, John, is £400,000 a week. Will that be enough to convince Bruno to commit his future to Old Trafford?
Well, I think this is going to be a heart-rending story, really, in a way, because I just think that Bruno, you know, a month or so ago was making it clear that he thought the club was trying to sell him from underneath himself, if you like. What was it, last summer, basically saying that we're ready to cash in. He was kind of painting this picture. It's almost him against the hierarchy. So I do think we're going to sort of kind of move into a period where he's definitely going to kind of assert his value to the team. My word, he did that on the pitch yesterday at the Emirates, didn't he? So he's incredibly valuable. I do think the last couple of games he's been absolutely fantastic, and I think it's good to see him back in his kind of traditional role, if you like, a traditional position in the team. And look, I think there would be a lot of interest. The only thing, obviously, that counts against him is his age, potentially. But this is a player that's so popular, understandably so for United fans. And look, I do think he's a player that will know his worth. And basically, we are coming to that point when United absolutely have to make a decision. I think in the past, they might have cashed in if he wasn't playing in his proper position. But my word, when he does, in that number 10 role, and is the absolute central force, United without Bruno is something United fans at the moment wouldn't want to face, because he's the driving force behind this Carrick new vision, I think.
Do you know what? They're going to have a lot of big decisions to make in the summer, aren't they? Not just in terms of Bruno Fernandes, also, as you say, Michael Carrick. And if Bruno Fernandes were to go, well, let's head into the sun. Star keen on move home, cold Trafford. Palmer up to switch to Boyhood Club United. Boyhood Club, you can see there in set as a kid, young Palmer in United top. There he is. Is he the answer then, James?
I mean, it's hard not to link these two stories, isn't it? Because if you are going to make a decision on Bruno Fernandes, he's 32 in September. United have made a habit in the past of handing out massive contracts to ageing players. Now, look, Bruno Fernandes seems to be at the top of his game right now, and obviously a talismanic figure, so I'm not necessarily saying he falls into that category, but his age is a factor. That is a huge salary to be giving out, and if someone like Cole Palmer, who obviously can occupy the same position, is a lot younger, is a Manchester boy, a United fan, and if he was to become available, then that would... I mean, I know what John says about, United fans wouldn't necessarily want to see Bruno Fernandes going, but if it was Bruno Fernandes going and Cole Palmer coming in, that's a pretty good solution to that issue. But what this does also raise about just Chelsea and their contract policy, I mean, we know it's sort of well documented that Chelsea have handed out these 6, 7, 8-year deals to players. Cole Palmer's on a long deal himself, I think to 2032 or something like that. It's a very, very long deal. We've not seen yet a player try to get themselves out of that. And, it would be interesting to see if Palmer wants to force his way out of Chelsea. And let's be clear, that's what he would have to do, because Chelsea would have no intention of selling Palmer. He's very much the sort of poster boy of the Blueco era. He's one of their successful transfer stories. And really, I think from their point of view, vindicates their contract policy, which is where they give these players these long deals, but they're heavily incentivised, so they start on a smaller wage. And the idea is, if you hit your goal, win bonuses, all these targets, that triggers an increase in your overall salary, and it motivates these young players to be, performing for the club, growing together, and that's kind of it's central to their whole philosophy. So what we've not seen is a player try and get himself out of that, and look, whether Palmer is going to do that or not remains to be seen. Obviously, it wouldn't happen in January. Whether it's something he'll try and do in the summer, we'll have to wait and see. I guess the other thing to consider is the two sides are obviously going for Champions League football, and if United could offer that, they're above Chelsea at the moment in the table, that would make it more appealing for him, but it feels a long way off to me, a Cole Palmer move from Chelsea to United, unless he really wants to throw his toys out of the pram and try and force it.
These two performances, if he keeps going, surely he has to be in the reckoning.
He has to be in the argument, for sure. You said me 3 weeks ago, I remember you saying to me, he's got 2 games against Man City and Arsenal coming up. I said, well, I would suggest he drags them 2 out. But what about if he wins them 2 games? And that is exactly what he's done. So the confidence what that would bring to the squad and to Michael and his coaching staff is the fact that they can go on and win every game now towards the end of the season. It'd be very difficult to turn that job down if he was to get offered it after winning every single game since he took over. I don't think they'll be able to turn that down. It'd be too much of a risk. Because Michael certainly would then leave Manchester United to go to another job, a huge job, a big job. And someone might reap the rewards of this fantastic manager, because I'm not getting carried away with it. It's been 2 games, but it's more than 2 games, Tom. It's against the 2 best teams in Europe, you were suggesting, Man City and Arsenal. And the way they've done it, the performance, how they've done it, I think it's been helped. He's brought Steve Holland in. I think it's a masterstroke. He's got his own team in there now, and they go game to game with a clear week. So they're obviously well drilled. You can tell out of possession, in possession, exactly what's required of them. He's kept it very simple, which is almost the most difficult thing to do for a manager, and that is what Michael's done. And he's been fantastic since he's been a 10 out of 10 at the moment. So, he has to be in the argument.
Let's see what a Manchester United fan thinks. Bradley Tooth joins us now. Bradley, a lot of the fans are messaging in saying that they want Carrick to stay. What do you think at this stage?
I think Roy Keane's answer when he said if he wins every game until the end of the season, he wouldn't give it him, that's a ridiculous answer, because if he wins every game until the end of the season, Man United are in 2nd or 3rd, and it's been a really successful season. I think it's too early. Look, we've had 2 great results. We're in a positive position right now. Let's wait and see. The acid test is against the Fulhams, the Brightons, the West Hams of the world at home. Those are the big games that we need to be dominating and winning. And if we have a positive results in those games, then yeah.
These last 2 are bigger than those, surely.
Not in terms of size, but where we've faltered over the last few seasons is the winnable games at home, right? We've all gone into those fixtures and we've said, this is the time where the bloke's going to cut his hair, this is where we're going to kick on, we're in good positions, but we've not capitalised. We played
Brad.
good football. Yeah.
Come on, mate. I mean, if you'd have been the Fulhams previously, you'd have rolled them over, you'd have rolled Wolves over, and then you go to Man City and Arsenal, you'd be saying, now, this is the acid test. Now you're going the other way around. You know, start feeling positive. Is it likely, I know exactly what you're saying, but is it likely on the back of them two performances that Michael Carrick will let them drop their standards going into these next two games, which are winnable games on paper? No one give Man United a chance in that Manchester derby, and no one certainly given them a chance yesterday, and they've won. They've won both of them games, and they've not only won, they performed very, very well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. No one gave us a chance against Liverpool earlier on in the season. You know, last season when we're beating Man City, nobody gives us a chance then, and we follow it up with defeats. So we've got recency bias when it comes to these things. We know what we can do at our best, and we know what we can do when we're below our best. So I totally agree with you. I don't think Michael Carrick will let the standards drop. I think he has got something and is getting a tune out of the players, which is so good to see. It's not just the results, the performances have been absolutely class. You know, the goals were world-class goals in both games, in my mind. And it was brave attacking football, and it was great to see. But I want to be grounded, and I want to say that I want to see how we do against the Fulham before I go, get the contract out, sign it, and all of that jazz, because that's just the pain of recency creeping in.
No, I agree with you 100%. I think what they want to do, they've looked at what happened with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and they won't want to fall into that again. But like I said last week, you don't want to tarnish Michael with the Ollie brush. You know, this might be a genius of a manager. It might be very, very good. At the moment, he's won 2 games. You're absolutely right. There's no need to do anything until the end of the season. But if you win every game between now and the end of the season, I don't think you can turn anywhere else, because this man will go somewhere else. In Bradley, in your opinion and the fans' opinion, what has he done well? What has changed?
So the biggest change, I think, it's the aggression in the defending. You know, that's just been a joy to see. You know, Manchester United fans have been on the back of Luke Shaw and been on the back of Diogo Dalot. And in the last 2 games, they've kept the wingers quiet, which is where the threat has been coming from. And then our attacking has been, good most of the season. We've just not put our chances away. But the defence gives a great base to lay the foundation to attack. And, you have to give flowers to the likes of Dalot and Shaw. Maguire has been phenomenal since he's come back into the team. Casemiro and Mainu in the 2 have been absolutely great. But I have to look at that defensive solidity. And as much as Arsenal had the possession in the first half, the goal really came from a scruffy chance. And it was a little bit out of the blue. It wasn't as if we were unpicked and uncut and, your defending's all over the place. I didn't feel threatened. And in that City game, I didn't feel threatened in that either. So that's really where Carrick has shown to be what... And you have to give credit to Steve Holland, to Jonathan Woodgate, to Johnny Evans in that. If you look at how they defended, they weren't both really quick defenders.
Yeah.
They needed fullbacks to help them out and get them out of trouble. And the fullbacks and wingbacks and wingers are defending in pairs, and that's really where we've seen progress. And if that continues, who knows where we can end up this season?
Well, very quickly, if you win every game, do you win the league?
Of course we do, right? The maths are clear. I think Arsenal will drop more points. I think City...
It's 12 points at the moment, which you've overturned in the past.
Did you hear that clearly, yeah?
Yeah, I did.
You win the league?
I don't think we're going to win the league, no. But if we did win all of our remaining games, of course we'll win the league. Arsenal will drop.
I think you still come up short.
You don't think Arsenal drop 12?
No.
If Manchester United...
I'd love to see you win every game, don't get me wrong, but I don't think you will.
No, I don't either, but if we did, we'd win the league. The great thing about yesterday and last week is it was against anti-football, so the slowing of the game down. We showed that proper attacking football, aggression, being brave, taking on your shots outside the box can get you rewards. And if other teams in the league took that stance, then we're in for a really interesting title showdown. And Man United aren't really going to be in the mix for that. But who knows where this title's going to end up now? Because Arsenal will be sweating after that.
Yeah, great performance from you and result. Bradley, thank you.
Thanks,
No
Brad.
problem.